Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races, such as the Daytona 24, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR schedule, such as the Daytona 500. We have events from disciplines all across the racing world, from the Indianapolis 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events utilize iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against every driver taking part. And as every race progresses, watch and feel the track change with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
Ready to go for another year in the NASCAR iRacing Series, and as ever, it kicks off with the full-length iRacing Daytona 500. Trials and tribulations await across the 200 laps, but one will emerge victorious. Glad we have your company on the iRacing Esports Network live on RaceSpotTV. Our Junior Kenji Party joined alongside by Derek Watson. And Derek, is a former winner of this race, I know you'll be excited for us to get going, but it's not just part of the iRacing special event calendar. 36 races await in the NASCAR iRacing Series.
Yeah, this is kickoff week, right? It's the beginning. It's the one sport where you could almost say we play the big game at the beginning, right? It's the Super Bowl of racing. It's the World Series. It's everything packed in one for 500 miles, 200 laps around this 2.5-mile facility.
And what a wonderful look from up above. I was there a couple of weeks ago for the 24. Glad that there is no sight of fog to interrupt us for a lengthy 6.5-hour safety car period. Already, though, iRacers have visited this World Center of Racing for two events, albeit on the road course configuration. The iRacing Roar, allowed to be done as a solo driver, compared to the 24 hours of Daytona just the very next week. We've had some time since then. We kick off the month of February. Bathurst and Sebring to come as we return to our endurance racing special event focus, but really, for lots of iRacers around the world, not just in America, it's the NASCAR iRacing Series with fixed and open setup configurations that kicks off in earnest. And look at the schedule, Derek, all the way through November, following the NASCAR calendar around the US.
Yeah, week by week, we do the exact same schedule NASCAR does. So we'll be here at Daytona this week. We'll move off to Echo Park Speedway. If some of the old-timers will know it as Atlanta Motor Speedway. And then we'll do our first road race, COTA, week 3. And it goes on through there. Lots of exciting action in the NIS fixed and open calendar. Up to 9 chances per week you get on iRacing to win one of these special races.
9 opportunities. That does mean that if you rack out in the first one, you can go back out and give it another go 8 more times after that, which I will be honest, Derek, I know you've won this race before. I don't think I've ever finished. I've also had the ignominy of, well, money shifting, coming to the green flag, and not technically even starting a Daytona 500 before.
I have a teammate who money shifted under caution last year and blew a motor, so he might have you beat on big oops daisies. But yeah, this is a great event. It's I used the words earlier, Super Bowl, World Series. This is for a stock car fan. This is that thing you dream of as a kid, right? Every kid has that sport you dream of. Throwing the touchdown pass in Super Bowl, the home run in Game 7 of the World Series, winning the Stanley Cup and hosting it up high, winning the World Cup. Hey, gold medal at the Olympics, that's pretty topical. But for stock car fans, you go to bed at night dreaming of one day winning this prestigious race.
And I tell you what, Victory Lane is a pretty special place to be at this track. And like you say, for all drivers, they have been thinking about this particular race. 20-odd seconds left to go in qualifying. We only have 19 times on the board through the field of, I think it's 36 Cup car machines that are, 37 rather, Cup car machines that are ready to do battle. At the end of the day, Derek, qualifying maybe not that important for the 500 miles of racing that lie ahead.
It's different strategies. Some people want to be up front. We'll see who those people are in a moment. We look at the grid. But some people are okay hanging in the back, thinking they can avoid the big one and find the way to the front when it matters.
A long way to go to be deposited down in what you can see there is Gatorade Victory Lane. Currently would be Mobile One Victory Lane as it was adorned a couple of weeks ago. But we are ready to go for the first of our full-length NASCAR iRacing Series races. 5 to come this year. It all kicks off here on the high banks of Daytona. And Tanner Love will be the one that leads us to green alongside of Cody Porter with just 1,000th of a second splitting the two of them. Charles Wimbley, Dylan Basson share row 2, while Nathaniel Landwehr and Chris Wilhite share row 3. Sean M. Conklin, technically the highest I-rated driver in the field, with 9,367. He's lined up in 7th alongside of Jack Mace with Matthew Morton and Evan Stave, the rest of your top 10. Only a handful more cars, remember, with times on the board. Nicholas Froman, Justin Campbell find themselves with 11 thousandths between them on row 11. Yuma Yao, Jaden Hopp, 13th and 14th, with Garrett Maines, former eNASCAR driver, all the way back in 15th position. Steele Langford, Seth DeMerchant, Jared Talmage, and then to round out the top 20 final drivers with times on the board, John Forbes Jr. and Johnny Dressler. It's the likes of Rocky Boyd and Wyatt Gray that have elected to forego qualifying and maybe stay out of the danger zone. Yunso Lim and Adam Blocker then line up behind them with Matthew O'Brien, Joseph Gallotta, Joe Carson, Mitch Drunowski, Jesse Atchinson, and Brandon Schmidt, your top 30. And still 7 more to go. Shane Kohlmeyer, Aaron Brunner, Nathan Harper, Colby DiCarlo, Maggie McGuire, and Issam Arabi. Just with Cole Hooper then starting at the very tail end of the field. It's been a while since I've been fortunate enough to be in one of the booths for these iRacing Daytona 500s, but Derek, as you look up and down that starting grid, who are the names that you want to be watching out for here tonight?
Oh, there's a few names on the board. I mean, obviously you want to pick out your former eNASCAR drivers and Garrett Maines and Seth DeMerchant. Those stand out. But, Arjuna, for the past couple weeks, the iRacing Esports Network has featured a couple other 500s as well. The FTF 500, the PGR Esports 500, and Sean Conklin ran really well in both of those as well. So that name also stands out. But the one that I think is going to emerge really best is Jaden Hopp. Jaden is an incredible driver, mostly a league racer across iRacing. But I suspect we'll see Jaden Hopp get to the front and stay there most of the night.
One of the great things about iRacing, right, is the fact that there's so much racing, not just on the official platform, but across of the various league competitions as well. High banking at Daytona. For those that have not been fortunate enough to be there, it's quite difficult to stand at the top without toppling over. But one thing that we do know as we get deeper into the night, understanding momentum, which lane you want to be in, down low, closer to the yellow line, or up high, closer to the wall. It's going to be crucial understanding those decisions, Derek, as we head closer to the checkered flag.
Yeah, we can really venture those as the night goes on. There's processes for both, right? Some people want to be to that inside lane because you have that idea in your head that if a wreck happens, you can yank to the left and avoid it. Some people want to be up top because they think the top lane runs faster and gains more momentum. There's so many reasons and so many thoughts. And hey, that decision can change, by the way. Just because you want to be in the bottom for the first 50 laps, something might happen and you might change your opinion in just the snap of a finger.
I'm excited. I know the drivers around the world will be as well. Remember, it's not just Americans, but we often will see drivers from as far across the world as Australia racing regularly in these NASCAR iRacing Series races, and a full calendar lies ahead. Following NASCAR as it crisscrosses the US through 2026, 36 electric weeks, but maybe the biggest prize lies first. A trip here to the World Center of Racing and a chance to write yourself into potential sim racing immortality. We are green for the iRacing Daytona 500 here at the World Center of Racing. Top line still seeking some of that momentum, but a tidy getaway through all 36. A little bit of chopping and changing as we run down the back straight.
And one car's all the way over the top, 3 wide. He's trying to move to the back, but he's going to move to the back regardless. We'll see who that was in a little bit here. But up front, it is scattered. Look at that, 3 wide, 2 wide. People up the hill, down the hill. This is chaos that happens in these first couple laps. As a driver, for me, these are the most nerve-wracking moments. When people are trying to kind of get sorted where they want to be, sometimes you make some really wild moves getting where you need to be on the track.
I believe that was Justin Campbell in the 10 that has dropped to the tail end of the field. He's now minus 23 since the start of the race. Bit of a bobble there from Charles Wimbley and Tanner Love as they push and shove down low. And the High Line has finally got it sorted out as a little bit more separation to those behind, trying to stay out of trouble. A long way to go in this race, and it would be so easy to lose it. But Sean Conklin gets the push and now leads this race into turn 3.
Doing a great job of Sean Conklin. Look, he's going to be one of those drivers who's able to really control both lanes. Currently riding on the bottom, watching a moment. If he thinks that top lane's going to get the run, he'll move up and block it right there. And he'll call what I call the old Pied Piper, the old Dale Jr. move. I know it existed before Dale Jr. did it in the 2000s, Arjuna. But I thought Jr. really kind of popularized it in our modern form of racing. But Conklin's doing an amazing job of controlling the lanes.
And you want to make some friends early as well, so be predictable. Don't want to find people getting upset with you early. Garrett Maines is one of the few drivers making some aggressive moves at the start of the race. Up to 6th position already is now Conklin and Porter still controlling the front of the field as they only stacked up 2 by 2 at some point. They very well could be 3 wide as 3 laps will be complete, and on board with Garrett Maines, we run back to the line once more.
And that's important to note, by the way. Yes, it's a 200-lap race, but we're already 3 laps, in, and it doesn't take that long. We're about 45 seconds a lap. So, yes, right now we have a long way to go. But when it comes down to making a move and making something happen, it's not that long of a lap. Yes, it's longer than Bristol. It's longer than, Martinsville or something. But you do have to be quick in your decision-making if you want to get to the front when it matters.
On the left side, you can see the drivers who have been the most aggressive. Garrett Maines now all the way up to 2nd spot. Does seem as though those on the outside willing to push, maybe those that have cut down low, just trying to do a bit of fuel saving, and now it's just only 5 up high as Dylan Bason's tucked down low in the white and purple front-ended machine. I believe it was Garrett Maines that led at the line, but only by a nose. 36 machines still in this leading pack. We lost Cole Hooper from the initial start, maybe some technical issues, but he's rolled out onto track 3 laps down. See what he can do, Derek, to fight his way back into contention. Weirder things than have happened than him finishing on the lead lap at the end of this race.
Weirder things have definitely happened. It'll take just a couple of lucky dog rules, a couple free passes, and he could make that happen possibly depending upon how the momentum of this race moves. But I got to say right now, I love this top line. This top line, only 5 cars deep, and that, upon first impression, doesn't sound right. It sounds like, oh, they're the shorter line. But when you're the shorter line up there, they're not going to have as many checkups. They're not going to have as many drivers, pulling in and out of lane. That top lane really could get a better run here by having a shorter number of cars. And look at, they're going to push Dylan Basin up to the front, and he makes the lane change down, snaps it in front of the bottom lane leader, and new leader.
Some aggression early as the bumping continues. This race predicted to roll for another 2.5 odd hours if we continue caution-free, and well,
whoa. Don't jinx that.
Well, I was about to say, weirder things have happened than that as well in sim racing. There you can see Cole Hooper in that black, so a stealth black Ford Mustang. He will be the first car that is caught. We'll see how easy he will make it for the leaders, who, for the most part, have just stayed 2 wide at the front, single file behind. Nary a sight of 3 wide just yet.
And then look at that. There's Sean Conklin back to the front again. By the way, he went top to bottom, and Conklin comes around. You said the highest I rating in the room, over 9,000 I rating for Conklin. Well-respected iRacer across the community, well-known, well-liked, and has the skills to pull off these events.
What's your oval I rating nowadays, Derek?
It's not 9,000.
Okay. See, because mine is 3,000 or something, and only because I gained a bunch of oval iRating back when you used to be able to race road courses in the stock cars and get oval iRating. I was one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, my oval iRating is definitely nowhere near 9,000. You can add all my iRatings up, and I don't think we're near 9,000 either. Cole Hooper goes up high and has made it relatively simple for the leaders to fly their way through. The driver that now flies at the front, Johnny Dressler, 19 positions gained. I think one of those drivers that did set a qualifying time, but legitimately the slowest time on the board.
And that said, the slowest time on the board is not that far off, right? It's always fun when we come here to a super speedway and we look at those times. And I mean, I'll go back and look in a second, but Dressler likely what I'm saying within a second of qualifying time, which, you know, for your typical NASCAR mile-and-a-half tracks, you know, a second off could put you top 10 maybe, depending upon the track. But here, you know, I mean, you said our first second split was, what, 1,000th of a second. So qualifying time is not always indicative of what you can do in the draft.
And I have seen on iRacing lap times where legitimately they are within 1,000th of a second, but you go down to the 10,000th of a second. iRacing does go to 4 digits beyond the decimal point, and there is a difference. iRacing also has the possibility of lap times being identical down to the 10,000th. That is definitely something that we have had on RaceSpot before, I think all the way back in the Lionheart Racing Series days. Just 3 left up high now as they really lose momentum, and at some point they are going to be hoping for an opportunity to cut down underneath, but that chance not looking likely. They're led by Conklin still. At what point do they filter back a little bit more, Derek, and then just ride until, well, the end of hopefully a long green flag run?
Yeah, they may not, because that moment right there, where next thing you know, if you're Conklin, there's a car that's going to pull up and help you pull that lane across here. And now we see the leader pull up as well. It's going to try and block that surge they have going with the 4-car line. And you know, some drivers don't ever want to pull down unless you have to pit. As I said earlier, some people love to be up top. It's not me. I'm a bottom lane guy. I love to use that double yellow as sort of my my guide, if you will, of where my wheels almost need to be. But this top lane can move. They can carry some speed out of the corners. That push can be just massive for these drivers. Just look at here for the top 2. Now Conklin and that purple car have pulled away from the rest of their pack because of how hard Conklin's pushing.
I think we should jump on board with one of these drivers and potentially just look at the opportunity to watch the wheel at work, because it seems like an easy ride trying to keep it straight and narrow, but it can often be anything but. The trick often is, don't grip the wheel too hard, relax a little bit more, because in packs like this, the slightest little reaction can send you into trouble. As we jump on board with Cody Porter.
I think the other trick that is lost in a lot of newer iRacing members, Arjuna, is you don't need a lot of force feedback. And I think that's important to say, because there is a time at tracks like this where if you carry too much force feedback in those wheels, the force feedback will almost drive the car for you, and it'll yank you up the hill or down the hill, whichever way it wants you to go, and it will not only mess up your line, it'll mess up your draft, but heck, it could just mess up your whole race and put you out of there with too much damage.
There did used to be a time when those in eNASCAR and at the top of the oval iRacing sphere would race without force feedback, which still to this day surprises me. Dylan Basin gets a big shove from Sean Conklin, and Garrett Maines is the one on the outside that's now a little bit stuck. He'll get some help, as that was Charles Wimbley that's popped out. Rather, Garrett Maines pops out to get the push from Charles Wimbley. Dylan Basin cuts them off, and now we are 3 wide for a moment. The aggression is starting to build.
I have to come back to that move by Basin a second ago, and I need to say that, yes, it worked. But that move by Basin where he slowly creeped up the hill to block that second lane, that's not going to work too many times. One of the keys to Daytona and Talladega, to a lesser extent, is you have to make snap decisions here. You cannot creep your lane choice. If you creep your lane choice, you're either going to A, get stuck in the middle and fall to the back, what we effectively know as the sucker hole, or B, you're going to take too long and you're going to get run over. You have to be faster about those lane choices. That will bite him later if he keeps doing that.
Big move at the front as Seth DeMerchant sweeps through to the lead of the race. Garrett Maines now giving him the push with Jack Mace on that high line. 13 laps complete, and we've got our first signs of trouble. Yellow flag flies, and it's Garrett Maines in the 2 that's spun around and stranded.
That's unfortunate for Garrett. We've seen Garrett win multiple races here on the iRacing Esports Network just from the special events, not even count, success in eNASCAR. But we'll wait and see what happened here as the replay queues up. And he says he's not sure, but he's got run over, honestly.
That's the first indications. One more look, and maybe. I mean, when you see the inside of another machine, that's never a good sign, is it?
No, it's really not. It's odd that happened that way. Where it just, I don't have words. It just feels like maybe he lost a little speed, or I don't know. But he got bumped and went up the hill. And all things considered, Arjuna, I have to say kudos to this field, because watch how this wreck is going to form here after we see this here. And there's the bump. But watch this. He goes up the hill, across the second lane, into the wall. And I think, realistically, minus some cars that got fear and scattered, the only physical damage, I believe, is likely to Garrett Maines.
I think I agree. And so he'll potentially start working away on the damage. This will give Cole Hooper a chance to get one of the 4 laps back that he is now down. It is Jack Mace that leads after a 13-lap green flag run. Comes to a sudden end, and it was after, Derek, the intensity had slowly started to build.
Yeah, it definitely had. People were starting to move around. I think people had gotten comfortable. The first 10 laps had kicked in, and people were just, all right, I got this, and next thing you know, it breaks some momentum here, and now you hope for is that it's just one, right? Now, everyone, by the way, I think at least some drivers are going to come down pit road here when it opens, because 13 laps of gas, that's getting close to about 35-40% of a fuel tank, I'd say. So everyone's going to come down pit road here, at least put gas in. Plenty of sets of tires for this race tonight, so tire sets, especially at Daytona, not a problem. But it's going to be gas all up and down the field here on pit road. This thing's going to be busy. This is your home right here.
Only a couple of drivers elect to stay out, I believe. You are right, I got intimately familiar with the pit lane at Daytona during the 24. It's a rather impressive place at night. Interesting, on the exit, Seth DeMerchant is going to win the race off of pit road by quite a margin. And Mace, Conklin, Basin, Vroman. It was Rocky Boyd, I believe, that drove through without actually finding his box, which it can be difficult first time down pit lane, Derek, to spot where you need to stop.
It can be, because it's, maybe you forgot where you qualified. So, because where you qualify, of course, is where your pit box is. Maybe you forgot where you qualified, but if you're using your iRacing spotter, he'll count you in. You'll get a count depending upon how far away, either from 10 or 5, and he will tell you where you're supposed to be. So I'm not sure what Rocky's going to do here. Part of me says, listen, you've made your bed, lie in it, as the old analogy says. Part of me says, come down here and get the fuel, because if this thing stays green, Rocky Boyd is going to find himself in a really, really bad situation. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here.
Rocky did qualify down in 21st position, so
it's about halfway down pit road.
Yeah, and you can see that he's slowly bled out of the fast lane and towards the left-hand side of pit lane as you sat on board with the car. Maybe a little bit uncertain. Maybe he didn't get the call from his spotter.
I'm going to give you an alternate thought here. This can happen in iRacing. I wonder if Rocky forgot to turn off his tires. You saw those quick stops there. That means fuel only.
Derek,
and hold on. We have a
Jack Mace, technical issue, hit the wall and is now dropping down timing as Rocky Boyd is going to head down to pit lane.
Yeah, that's not a surprise about Rocky. That's unfortunate for Jack Mace. He clobbered the wall and now is, I believe, off track. Or maybe back there a little bit. We'll wait and see. But if he's on track, iRacing should put him back where he was before he disappeared. So we'll wait and see what's going to happen. Here he is in the replay.
Just drifts up, hits the wall, and then instantly disappears, which is never a good sign.
I think that's an internet disconnect, but I might be wrong. I think that's a... we'll wait and see.
his quality in sim, which is a representation of your connection quality, as the name implies, down to 27 out of 100. So we'll see if Jack is going to be able to regroup. It comes at a very frustrating time for him, though, because the field is now grouped up 2 by 2, and we're ready to go racing again.
All right, so you got your first 10, 13 laps in. You kind of learn some things about some competitors, right? And a lot of what I think we do at Daytona is we're taking notes live, whether you're in the car or whether maybe you're helping spot someone tonight. Every moment that happens at this track, you're taking mental notes. Who pushed, who didn't push, who blocked a run, you know, anything that happens, you're taking mental notes of what to do with that. You know, if someone didn't push you, you may not push them later, or you may not want to put yourself in a spot where you need their push later. And so right now, this is all live note taking. So after 10 laps, that's a good break. Now let's settle back in and see if we can go green for a long, long time.
You know, some of the drivers wear, you know, those heart rate monitors, both in the sim and real world. I've seen plenty of heart rate monitors on Twitch streams nowadays. This was one of those chances for the heart rate to cool off, but it was a relatively quiet opening couple of laps. Things started to pick up after about the lap 11 mark. Will the drivers be as patient this time around? Let's crank it up and enjoy the sights and sounds of the Daytona International Speedway. 17 laps complete, first caution in the books. We're back racing at the 2026 iRacing Daytona 500. Clean and green for a full lap, and remember, with Jack Maines being the one driver that dropped out of contention, Garrett Maines was able to repair some of that damage and stay tagged in at the back of this lead pack. We've still got 35 contenders on the lead lap as we head down the backstretch once again.
Speaking of all those contenders, a 36 car, Jarrett Talmadge, pardon me, is now leading this race around, is up here in front of all these competitors and having a great time leading that bottom lane here. That top lane starting to feel a little bit of that surge, a big group of cars on both sides, and there's more of that momentum shifting, Arjuna. There's more of those cars want to lead both lanes, scared of getting that run put around them and getting past the lead.
Still, there's a lot of drivers sitting back there. Remember, we saw the likes of Justin Campbell drop back on the initial start. He's still 25th. Talmadge goes from high to low. Matthew Morden now the leader of the high groove. That's all bit of a moment as one car bobbles and ducks and weaves. I did say that some of the drivers were starting to get a little bit antsy. Cautions do breed cautions. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's always the fear, isn't it, right? That everyone kind of holds on to, and it takes a few laps before you kind of start to breathe and go, okay, listen, we're in a run. We're comfortable. This isn't going to happen again. But I'm impressed how many people are willing to ride that bottom lane right now. And there's reasons to do it. Don't get me wrong. One of them being fuel saving. Maybe you make an extra lap or two out of this fuel run. But I'm amazed at how many are down there right now and not trying to race around this track.
See, I was always someone that early doors would like to just sit down low. I always felt a little less comfortable trying to go up high, but I'm also not one of the people that like to sit all the way at the back of the pack, because I found myself questioning my ability to dodge some of the wrecks, and the question always at Daytona is when, not if, when will we see the big one? Seth DeMerchant gets to the lead in that white and black Toyota Camry. He's got John Forbes in the red and black Chevrolet Camaro now to his outside. Behind them, Matthew Morden tucked down low, pushing the Merchant. Low line, going to run the shorter distance through the corner. There's Jack Mace. So back out on track after the technical issues. He'll be 3 laps down in a couple of laps' time, but let's see what he can do from here. Great to see him at least digging deep and heading back onto the track.
Yeah, another driver's going to need a lot of things to go his way to get those laps back. But what he's hoping for right now is he might be the only driver hoping for a quick yellow here, because that would stop him from going yet another lap down for Jack Mace. And we'll see that happens. Bad news for Cole Harper, by the way. As long as Jack Mace is on the track, he'll always be the lucky dog recipient for a few of these cautions. So that'll take it longer before Cole Harper could regain any laps here at Daytona.
He's still 4 laps down as well. I think he may have not been able to take advantage of the lucky dog during that previous caution cycle. On board with Chris Wilhite, gives a big shove to the back of the cars in front of him. If you're new to the world of iRacing, well, first off, welcome along. Glad that you join us here for the virtual Great American Race and what is the start of 36 NASCAR iRacing Series races. 5 of them will be full length, and they were 3 wide through the tri-oval for a moment. I tell you what, that aggression ratcheting up once again. But all these cars may look slightly different between the Toyota, the Chevrolet, and the Ford. They've all got identical physics. They all drive the same. There's no differences between them.
No, that's one thing that's very different about the oval and the road side of iRacing, of course. On the road side, we have all those wonderful GT3s and the GTPs that every car is different. The setups don't even work across the different cars, right? Or they're going to fail. But here, for these 3 types of cars, for the Chevys, the Fords, and Toyotas, they have the different bodies, but engine-wise, performance-wise, everything, they are identical in iRacing. It's a wonderful thing to see. And I see representation from... Well, our first Ford's pretty far down the list. I think our first Ford is back in 23rd with Shane Kohlmeyer. But up front, it's a lot of mixture of Toyotas and Chevys.
I do enjoy the Ford Mustang Dark Horse R's. Of course, I commentate on Mustang Challenge. Their pace car, John Heindorf, was convincing enough to this pace car driver to rev the engine for our radio coverage of practice at the Charlotte Roval last year. All these cars, what they do make is a tremendous noise. We were there for Mustang Challenge practice. We got to see a bit of the Xfinity cars, the trucks, and Cup machines as well. This is a very different sort of car to what we saw, though. They are basically dialed to go as fast in a straight line and through these corners as possible. For the most part, back to single file we have gone at the front with 25 laps complete. First benchmark, if you will, Derek, officially ticked off.
Yeah, first benchmark. That black car, by the way, that's Cole Hooper going yet another lap down. That's the lap car we're just now passing around here. But it's interesting you mentioned the word benchmarks, because I often write off this race in 3 segments in my mind when I'm racing, and I'll do it more this weekend. It's the first 50, it's the next 100, and it's the last 50 for me. Those are the benchmarks. Oh, we're 3 wide. Hold on a second. And there's a lot of talk on the radio about drivers being kind of scattered and unhappy right now. So I'm not sure if this image and that radio is related, but yeah, I think it would be. There's
a big gap between 12th and 13th. It's up to 4 seconds right now. We're watching that second group trying to regather some of their momentum, and I'm sure we'll figure out on the replay what exactly has happened. But that's the other thing about Daytona. You can have trouble, and it's not guaranteed to bring out a caution. And so let's see what happens here. Watch Cody Porter in that 24. He's the one I think that loses the most here.
Wait and see when that moment will happen, and where's it going to be? Nothing's happened yet here that I see that should break this pack apart, but something did happen. We definitely had 2 distinct, whether it was just a bad wiggle by someone or a bad checkup, I don't know, but there's definitely something that's happened to break these groups apart. Let's see the replay again here.
Second time.
Oh, there it is.
Ooh, is that Dylan Basin, that sideways?
It is Basin. And luckily for him, those other cars were below him, because I think everyone else kind of straightened him out.
Yeah, and I did at least recognize that Cody Porter was the one that got the worst of it. One more look from into turn 3, and it's kind of similar to what happened to Garrett Main, just almost like Basin gets driven through by the I think that was the 6 of Rocky Boyd, and well, that could have been a lot worse.
And so I think what this is spawning from, Arjuna, about 10 days ago now, there was an update to these, it's weird to me we still call them next gens, but these NASCAR next gen car models in iRacing. And it sort of changed how the draft worked a little bit. Last year, when Evan Pasok and I called this race, it was more about what we call slam drafting and really getting up there and it's really ramming someone really hard. That is not now the most effective way. The most effective way to get around here, you can almost now push the pusher. There's a great example in that camera shot right there. That's not the scary move it used to be. So sometimes pushing the pusher still has a negative side effect. I wonder if that's what we're seeing these cars get spun around is a bad job of pushing the pusher, which is something you now kind of have to do to be successful here.
For the record, I am not Evan Pasoko, so don't expect side-by-sides from me.
Side by side. Yeah, I can't do it.
I can't do it. I am not as good as Evan Pasoko, but of course you can hear Evan, AB, Kenneth Bueno, and the rest of our iRacing Esports Network colleagues with the return of the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series qualifying series, a restructured road to the championship, if you will. Kind of condensing the format first of the qualifiers, also of the main championship. So qualifiers just kicked off, and the main championship will commence later on this year, and will run once again through the end of 2026, when once more champion will be crowned, and the mega prize pool paid out as well. So all that drama has now meant two groups. First through 11th, and then 12th on back. Reality is, though, we are 15 laps into this stint. We've got a long way to go before green flag stops could be expected. A caution groups these cars back up together.
And even without a caution, this group is led back there by Joseph Golada in P12, Jaden Hopp in P13, Drew Nowski, Wembley, Rocky Boyd, and more. If they stay in line and push here, we've seen both of us in instances in the past where these groups get lined up and they can catch the leaders on their own. But as you watch that beautiful camera shot down there from the battle for 12, the problem is every time someone lifts, every time someone pulls up a lane, you're breaking the draft and you're making it less possible that you're going to catch the leaders.
Got to coordinate, and that's why sometimes teammates, it can be beneficial. I'll take a story from the iRacing Indy 500, but Michele Costantini a couple of years ago was telling me that when it was him and Brandon Trano swapping together, they were a couple of tenths a second faster than when any of the other Team I5G combinations were trying to work together, and so that could be a big factor. I can also tell you that second pack hasn't really gained back all its momentum just yet. Last lap alone, they lost another 0.3 of a second. Dressler continues to lead. It's a 45.802 for him. For Joseph Collada, who breaks the timing beam now, 45.949, so still a tenth and a half off the pace.
So what that second group needs to do was kind of a quick live assessment if they can. What they need to assess is out of that chaos that happened, there was no caution, but there's definitely some cars who got hit, who got beaten and banged around. They may have some small aero damage on those cars. And any car who's in your line that has some aero damage is going to slow you down. You almost have to cycle those drivers out, put them in the back of your lane, and get moving. So if you have anyone in the lead, or in this pack, pardon me, whether it's Galata or anyone who has damage to that car, they're going to slow down this lane. They need to start talking in the voice chat and say, hey, is your car clean? Are you good? And starting to make those assessments live.
Saw a comment in our chat. Someone won their Daytona 500 last night, riding that high. Nice. Congratulations. Derek knows exactly what you're talking about. Unfortunately, I haven't tasted that level of success just yet. Derek, how did you celebrate your win?
A lot of screaming.
What about after you got out of the rig?
Somewhere, I think it's gone. There's a Twitch bot of me just being speechless, of me just being just like, it was just as great the second time as it was the first. It was, I think the words I said first when I crossed the line first in 24 was finally. I've been trying at it for 10 years, and it was almost surreal that I did it. It was just like, I just couldn't believe it. And then to come back and do it again, a lot of surviving, just a lot of relaxing, and because of an inside joke I have with a friend who may or may not be watching, a victory meal at Wendy's was in our afterwards.
Oh, I know that makes the Wendy's car in eNASCAR happy.
Yeah.
It's one of those fun crossovers that I love seeing. eNASCAR in general, some of the best liveries in sim racing, I feel, especially when you have the sponsor activations, that the Wendy's car. Joseph Gallotta joins a couple and pulling out a line. I think they've realized that they are losing so much time. Going to give some others the opportunity to run up towards the front of the second pack. It's now 8 seconds the deficit between the leaders and the chasing peloton to break a term from the Tour de France out here on the RaceSpotTV airwaves. Johnny Dressler, though, continues to lead, which means that if we do get another 20-something laps in, if we do get some green flag pit stops, he's going to be the one hurting the most.
Yep. He's the one burning the most fuel. He's the one up front. There's no draft ahead of him. But behind him is DeMerchant. Matthew Morton's back there. Sean Conklin's back in P4 still. Those guys are likely only about, probably, I'd say, 90% throttle, maybe 85, depending upon their comfort level. And so you're right, that leader's going to be the first one down pit road, but he won't be abandoned because no one wants to pit alone at Daytona. You will kill your run by doing so. And so these guys will figure it out. They'll start talking about it. The radio will start chirping. You'll hear some numbers thrown out. And these guys will coordinate when those pit stops are, more than likely. So I suspect that's still, we put on lap 16. So we're lap 37, about 21 laps in. We're still about 10,
at least,
maybe 13 laps from people wanting to talk about those numbers.
Yeah, I would hope that they're not thinking about that. At least just yet. We don't have stages here in the NASCAR iRacing series. It's just a run from the drop of the green to the drop of the checkered. We do have a couple of attempts at green-white checkered if we do need that, but we'll talk about that the closer we get to the end of this race. Not even 50 laps complete, as now 9 seconds the advantage between the leading 11. Those hunting them down. There's one car who's ventured up high all by themselves here. 17 of Jaden Hopp. I wonder if that's Jaden just trying to drop back into line.
It may be as well. In fact, Jaden that's brave to go up there by yourself and see what he can make happen. Is Jaden?
I think he's dropping to the back here.
Yeah, I mean, whether he wants to or not at this point, right? It's that's just going to happen here. So it may have been that's temperature just too hot for Jaden, maybe, and that's something we don't talk about enough. Probably you can't push that long here. The pushing is fun and it's necessary, but in these Cup cars, you get a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps, and that dashboard is blinking red and angry and mad, and your 2 choices are to blow up or pull out a lane and get in the back. And Jaden picked the latter there.
And for those wondering what exactly we are talking about, let's jump on board with, we are riding with Sean M. Conklin right now in the #1 machine. I'm going to break out my handy-dandy yellow pen tool for the first time in quite a while on RaceSpotTV. Over here is the section that the drivers will be keeping an eye on. That's where their temperatures will be reported to them, of course. When you're running this close to the cars in front of you, not much chance to get cool air onto the nose, and so just monitoring those temperatures. And the great thing about modern iRacing, it wasn't the case when I joined, crikey, 13 odd years ago now, but you can even see those temps if you bring up one of those black boxes. You don't have to be cursed by having it hidden on your screen. You can always keep an eye on those temperatures, aka, Derek, there's no excuse for not knowing if you're about to blow up.
No, and I'm 95% positive there's also a spotter auto alert in your ears from the iRacing spotter that says, hey, your temps are getting hot. So there's no excuse at it at all, but sometimes you get wrapped up in this race. You get wrapped up in what's going on, the pushing and wanting to be up front, and you're just trying to tempt fate. You're trying to see how long you can do it, and you think you can back out before it breaks, and it doesn't. Boy, when an engine breaks midfield, it's not going to go well for anyone behind you, because that car's going to come to a sudden and abrupt lack of acceleration and probably check up the field.
That's what makes it so dangerous, is the sudden lack of acceleration that is going to surprise the field behind. The gap now 11.5 seconds. So yes, it's just 11 cars, but they are damage-free for the most part, and also working together with clinical efficiency right now. Charles Wimbley leads the second group. Joseph Gallotta's tucked back in behind him, and go back to the conversation on temperatures, and tie it in, Derek, with what we were talking about, or you were talking about, with the change in how drivers are bump drafting. Well, that was a nervy moment off of turn 4. How the change is being compared to last year. When you're now 4 cars basically stacked up together, there's no chance for you to get air on the nose, and both Wimbley and Gallotta pull out a line. Yeah,
and maybe either one of them, that's exactly why. We're going to see it multiple times with how hard you're pushing. You just have to get up there. And right now, even though they're together, that little bit, that'll calm that temperature down. And, a lot of drivers focus on the numbers. Arjuna, hey, what's the number when I blow up? And I always say to people, don't worry about the number. Worry about the color of your dashboard. It'll go from white, that's normal. We'll get the yellow, that's not good. Then it'll start blinking red, and that's angry. And I say, when it's blinking red, you have a problem.
See, but what happens if you're colorblind? And the reason I asked this question is I've got a teammate.
The blinking is still going to happen if you're colorblind. I want to point that out.
That is true. That is true. But I've got a teammate in this race, Adam Blocker, who is colorblind, and so that's one of those things you've got to be aware of. I remember the conversation I had with him as was 3 cars hooked up together. Now make it 4 as Conklin joins them at the lead. But I was talking with Adam about the text that you have from race control if you're in like a league session or whatever, right? That's the color purple for those that have obviously seen that text. And I was talking to Adam about how that's obviously, different from when someone's just typing in chat. And Adam went, they're different colors?
Yeah, there's so many different colors in iRacing, isn't there? I guess now it's almost more of a magenta for the admins. You got the... we want to call it like a sea foam as a private message. That blue, that used to be the darker blue, and now you got white for general messaging. Yeah, there's a lot of different colors of messaging in iRacing, and each one has its own purpose.
So yeah, it's just it made me remember and chuckle at that story. Closing in on lap 50, at which point I think that conversation about pit windows between the drivers is going to start to intensify. So Derek, I'll task you with keeping your ear on the radio chatter, which I love this about sim racing, and I do think it's one of those things that will be really fun to do in the real world as well. Let the drivers talk to one another.
Oh boy, I don't know. It sounds fun until it happens. I imagine sometimes the real life chatter would be just as bad as some of the iRacing chatter when you get people like mad at Joey Logano or mad at Carson Hocevar. I imagine it would be a very interesting driver's radio. But boy, I look at this again. It's weird to me, and I'll lean on you to talk about the road side, but it's weird to me the evolution of bump drafting and racing as a whole. I don't know, the last 10 years. I mean, it used to only be an oval thing for the most part. Now working with IMSA and covering IMSA, you see it more commonly now in IMSA races with the GT3s bump drafting. It's weird to me just how common it's become, and heck, now we're pushing the pusher at Daytona.
Yeah, but there was one year, go back, it must have been 22, 23, where they did do bump drafting in the real world between GT3s to a limited degree. But the degree to which you see bump drafting in the sim, like just look at the Daytona 24, the last 2 years with GT3, and how the winner in that class has been helped out basically for the entirety of the race by a teammate, giving them the afterburners, right? 4 wheels, well, eight would be better off the banking, I guess, is the theory. I think it's one of those things where if iRacing was more punishing in some ways, for example, in the road course side of things, if bump drafting had a chance of ripping off a dive plane or damaging the radiator, would those teams be willing to do it? I think my answer to you is no, Derek.
Yeah, I would agree with that. If there's a cost to doing it, you're less likely to do it. At least you're going to be more picky about when you do it. And risk versus reward, which is a great way to transition back into oval side of Daytona. This whole race, every move you make, that's the assessment you're making right now, is risk versus reward. Let's take Sean Conklin, 4th in line right now. Yeah, he could pull out. He could try and take the lead and not have to worry about if something happens ahead of him. That would be the reward. What's the risk? That no one else goes along and he falls back like Jaden Hopp did.
Speaking of falling back, I think Johnny Dressler has decided I have led enough. It's time for someone else to punch the hole in the air and for me to drop back into 4th. Works out quite nicely for him. He'll pick up the push from Joe Carson and eventually link back up with the front three, and won't even have given up any time to the chasing pack behind. There are plenty of big movers and shakers. However, it was those that made their moves before the half incident that failed to bring a caution out but split the lead pack up that were able to take advantage. Take a Joe Carson, for example. He's plus 22, and in this leading pack, Nathan Harper in 12. He's the one leading the second group, plus 21. It's going to take a long time for him to gain another position if it continues like this.
Yeah, they've dropped back a lot. I'd kind of lost track of that timing, but you're right. It's now 14 seconds back to P12 on back here. Those guys have lost 7 seconds since that original incident happened. They got lined up. When I looked at the first time, when we did that side-by-side, the top-bottom screen, they were only 7 seconds back. So, I say there has to be someone in that lane or at the front of that lane that must have some body damage and needs to get that fixed here. So there's your battle for 12. Harper, Boyd, Maines, who we know has some damage. I mean, there's no way Garrett Maines I would think, is a full performance car after his issues earlier. So we'll keep in mind what's going on. But up front here, Arjuna, now beginning to work about 32, 33 laps since your last pit stop. Within the next 5 at most, everyone should be down pit road, I would think.
Last time down pit lane, Maines was stationary, for that works out to 1 minute and 42 seconds. I wager correctly that damage is not fully repaired. How much more will he need to continue tweaking on that car, as officially we'll cross the line and be 1/4 of a way through the opening round of the NASCAR iRacing Series, the 2026 iRacing Daytona 500. It's Seth DeMerchant that's now taken the mantle from Johnny Dressler. He's the one leading the train around. Sean Conklin, Johnny Dressler, Joe Carson. That's your top 5 as they sit right now. See Evan C. up in the mix as well. He's someone that we've seen plenty of in the iRacing World of Outlaws dirt racing side of things as well. Chris Wilhite, as much as yes, he's got NASCAR pedigree. Seen him run plenty of strong IndyCar races here on RaceSpotTV under the Indy Alliance Racing banner in the past. And that's what also makes this such a unique experience as part of the iRacing special event calendar. We've got drivers crossing over from their normal sort of day-to-day iRacing experiences, Derek. There are special events across all the disciplines on iRacing.
There is, and the one driver that comes to mind is coming back to Garrett Maines. I don't know if there's a special event that Garrett Maines doesn't try to do. We know he's great at road racing. He's great, at the oval side, obviously, with his NASCAR contendership. And I've seen Garrett, through his stream and just from watching the special events, do a lot of different special events. So you're right. It's very possible these guys are going to cross over, and they're great at everything. Bobby Zielinski, of course, another one not in this race tonight, but an NASCAR driver who does a lot of road racing. So you'll see that pretty commonly. I guess if you're good in a car, you're good in a car sometimes.
Garrett Maines has been venturing out and doing some real-world racing of his own and some BMWs in the last couple of years. What his 2026 schedule has in store, hopefully soon. Lap 37, so maybe another 10 or so before we expect, at the very least, the leaders to be headed down towards pit road. And for a moment there, the camera shot actually showed you the margin. It has started to equalize out between the leaders and those behind. Only about a 1/10 of a second last time the difference between first and 12th positions. Let's keep an eye on that trend. Is that a sign that the leading group is starting to slow down?
It may be. Or it may be that the second lane is starting to finally get cohesion. I've heard a lot of talk in the radios about, guys, let's get it together. Let's find cohesion. Let's find chemistry and start pushing. But look at the bottom of your screen here. Those laps show you that right there. I mean, it's so tight every lap. A 1/10 of a second at most difference. So that's where they are currently on the track. And again, 14 seconds is the gap. They're going to need something big to happen, likely a caution, if they're able to catch this field. But Arjuna, you said you've not won one of these events yet. Well, good news. You still got 4 more shots along with everyone else this weekend after tonight if you want to. This is the open setup race. There's one more of these. It's Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And there are 3 more shots at the fixed setup races. One, if you're up early or up late for our tonight, 5 a.m. Eastern time. That's 2 a.m. for us West Coasters. There's also a noon Eastern, and then Sunday night a 9 p.m. Eastern time slot. If you want to race in these NIS, this Daytona 500, you still have 4 shots to claim the trophy.
Well, unfortunately, I would need to head to the Micro Center down the road and buy a rig to be able to race. But, you know, it's worth a thought maybe for next year. This is one of those events that is grueling, physically and mentally, even
Yes.
in the sim world as well. Estimated to be another hour and 50-ish minutes if we run from here uninterrupted. I'll avoid using the words that I've already been chastised today.
You know, it's a good topic because, you know, my partner tonight was like, hey, when's dinner? I was like,
who
I
knows?
don't know. Yeah, I was like, it might be 2.5 hours. It might be 4 hours. I was like, you might just want to grab dinner for yourself tonight. We might be here a while.
But you know what? Credit to the drivers for the most part. Yes, I was, you know, talking about them getting a bit overly aggressive potentially right around the lap 13 trigger of the caution. But since then, yeah, the half spin, but it's all settled down quite nicely. And lap times between the chasing pack and the leaders very much equalizing out right now. On to the 41st lap in the run.
Heading this time is the calls on the radio. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, well, you've just answered the question I was about to ask.
It's this backpack. I keep hearing the talk from most. I think I hear it all across the radios, but I think this backpack here, I heard pitting this time. It's either this time by, or how you define next time. It could be this time or the lap after. But
And
people are going to risk it.
I would expect that all 11 would pit together. So they'll come next time is what I would expect. Because like Derek mentioned earlier, you want to pit with friends. You want to have assistants leaving pit lane to build your speed up. Second group, keeping an eye on the nose of the 27 of Nathan Harper. Not seeing much damage on that car. And the last lap, another lap in the green for the chasing group.
Here's the second thing you need to organize is not just when you're going to pit, Arjuna, but how are you going to pit? And that sounds weird to say if maybe you're not familiar with NASCAR, maybe you're a family member or a friend in this race. But who pits where, right? That entrance is wide. Some people are going to go down to the wall. Some people are going to stay up to that white line, but you don't want to run each other over on pit road. Here they come.
Trying to minimize the distance to the best of their ability, but the last thing you want to do is speed. Oh, they were more than 3 wide for a moment as they trickle down towards pit entry. Is there anybody in the second pack that is going to decide to do something different?
Here's the impressive part. Everyone, no speeding.
No speeding, and the second pack does not come in, so they will try and extend. They were maybe hoping for a bit of chaos. Right side tires, it would seem. Is anyone going to throw left sides on? Yes. So
yeah, it takes too long.
Is that just fuel related, Derek?
Yeah, it takes longer to put fuel in the car than it does to put 4 tires in the car. So why not, right? That's the kind of sarcastic question. It's also the honest question. It takes longer to put fuel in the car at this rate, so why not put 4 on and just go? Because at Daytona, we don't necessarily need tires. This current model does not eat up these tires as if we were racing at Charlotte or one of the other special events will do this. There's your second pack, and there's going to be some smoke and I think some problems for some drivers.
That was a lot more aggressive, but somehow, remember, it's an average speed that's measured. No pit speeding penalties. Although I see Joe Carson has just picked one up, and I would assume that's actually for unsafe on the very exit, maybe crossing over beyond the blue cone a little bit too early. It was Sean Conklin that grabbed the lead of the pack that pitted first, and they are going to fly past this group that has their race off pit road right now. No one's caught speeding on exit. That would be so painful as well. Tidy execution through the field, you'd have to say.
Yeah, great execution. Let's stick with this shot for a second, and we'll show you what that blue cone Arjuna talked about here. And I mean, just out of NASCAR 2, There'll be a blue cone. Oh my gosh, I think it's on the left, Daytona.
Yes, right
There's
there.
also a blue line within iRacing. There it is. And that line, that's where you can merge up. You cannot put any tires up on the banking before that moment. You put a single tire up there, and you're going to get a penalty from iRacing. You cannot merge up early. You remember some of the viral meme moments of NASCAR in the 90s of drivers pulling up way too early? We want to avoid that in iRacing. That's a rule that's, I think, only, what, Arjuna, 4 or 5 years old in iRacing? And a very welcome rule when they put it in iRacing.
Yes, I've seen some of the chaos that can be created. By the way, Jaden Hopp, alongside of Jesse Atchison and Aaron Bruner, they were the 3 drivers that pitted on the last lap of the cycle, so rather interesting there. We've got a mix-up now because it's 8 cars effectively in the leading queue. Then 2 behind them. Johnny Dressler and Brandon Schmidt have been dropped by the leaders, and then Nathan Harper, Rocky Boyd, Garrett Maines. They're the leaders of the chasing pack that's going to pack up once again. There's not much separation through those that survived the chaos of that half spin around lap 27.
Yeah, the real surprise is your front pack broke apart. That's the most surprising part here. We went from, I think, 11 or 12 down to 8. As your former leader, Johnny Dressler, is currently falling down the board, now over 9 seconds behind the lead here. So now it's Conklin, it's Morton, it's DeMerchant, your top 3, but your former leader is now 10 plus seconds almost behind the leader.
On board with Brandon Schmidt on the bottom of the screen. This is what we were talking about, Derek. You want more friends when you pit at Daytona because more friends equals more energy, equals more speed.
It does, and I'm just so curious what happened to these guys and why they're off the pace here. But they really are, and it's just these 2, if I understand the pit guys timing correctly, it's just these 2 right here, and then it's another 4 seconds back to that herd that's been racing around. That's the group with Nathan Harper, Rocky Boyd, Garrett Maines, Charles Wembley, and the others. So that group will catch these guys, and they'll hopefully make them one big, longer line, and they'll see if they can eventually make any progress here. We've been green for a while at Daytona. It's been green now for about, what, 50 laps or so.
Oh, well.
Oh, never mind. Oh, boy.
That's a replay, fortunately. That's why Joe
thank
Carson got his black flag, because he bled back onto the banking, and that could have been very, very dangerous. However, he gets away with one. We get away with one. And now Nathan Harper only about 2 seconds off the rear end of Brandon Schmidt and Johnny Dressler. They are closing with a whole head of momentum. And let's see if they will absorb 9th and 10th positions as the gap between the leaders and those that we sit on board with right now is back to about 12 and a half, 13 odd seconds. Once more though, still a long way to go in this race.
So the interesting conversation to have right now is that group back there is actually negotiating how they want to pass these lapped cars. And that's not something you think about, but it does matter. So if these group in the back here that you see, this back 7 or 8 cars, they're going to move up. And they're going to tell those cars, stay on the bottom. We're going to pass you, and then we will quickly absorb you into our draft. That's what's going to happen here, I'm pretty sure. But instead, those lapped cars move up. And the reason I don't like that for those, not lap cars, but for those 2 cars, pardon me, right there with Dressler and his teammate, is they're going to have a harder time getting back down in the lane and getting into the draft quite as fast. They would have been better off staying on the bottom and letting that group of Harper, Boyd, Maines, and other pass them by and absorb them into that draft. Watch how they're going to fall off the back here and have to kind of fight their way back in.
Simple way to also describe it, right, is they went the longer distance. They were going slower and went the longer distance. So they put themselves in a precarious situation, but they've handled it quite nicely. They have latched on very quickly. Then about 1 point...
Except for that last car.
Not quite, but I think you'll get there. Then 1.7 seconds back to Blocker, Love, Basin, Carlo, Lim. Expecting this group to close as well, although navigating their way through some traffic. That's Tanner Love, rather, that's electing to drop back maybe with now Adam Blocker being the push from Dylan Basin. Closing in on halfway distance. That will be here right before we know it, Derek. Who's looking good right now?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is Sean Conklin, right? He's the one leading the race and the one who's found his way up front multiple times. When we were too wide racing, he was able to control both lanes, make those moves back up and down, and had a good run. Other names that stick out here, I mean, the 36 car of Jarrett Talmadge led a couple laps, so that sticks out to me. But I love how that second group is communicating. They're not up here right now. They're still far back, but if you could hear the driver radio right now, like Rocky Boyd, Garrett Maines in that group, I love that communication. Maybe they're not teammates, but Garrett Maines is coaching that second lane. Hey guys, when you hear this, do that. Hey guys, when you see this, do that. And that's invaluable, by the way. That's something that you can't put a price on. You're in a drafting line in a Daytona 500, and an NASCAR driver is giving you driving tips. Sign me up.
The great thing about iRacing, NASCAR drivers, maybe NASCAR drivers occasionally. The NASCAR drivers may not be so willing to give you advice, but always a cool experience when you see one of those names in your races. Talking of damage, Rocky Boyd gives us a up-close and personal view of the Toyota Camry front end for Garrett Maines, still showing some of the battle scars.
Yep.
I think of that incident.
And that's why Garrett Maines will never lead this line, by the way. That damage up front, he's okay if he can tuck behind Rocky Boyd or someone else and do that right there and bump and push. But with that front end damage, if Garrett Maines were to try to lead that line, that front end damage would act like a parachute. It would act like a brick almost at the front of the line, right? It would slow that whole lane down. So Garrett Maines will, and you have to make the exact right move later if he gets the chance to lead and win this race, because he will struggle leading a lane here at Daytona.
Sun slowly setting here at the world center of racing, ticking past 4 p.m. virtual standard time. 8 miles an hour winds. That humidity that led to 6.5 hours of safety car at the Rolex 24 a couple of weeks ago in the real world. Fortunately, nowhere to be seen. The other thing that's also nowhere to be seen, any sign of rain. And boy, what a great thing that is. Even though the iRacing weather system plagues the endurance special events, it's not here to throw a wrench into the plans for our oval rounds, at least, on the NASCAR iRacing Series. 70 laps now complete. 130 still left to go. And of the 37 starters, Derek, 37 are still out there and running. Yes, there is a couple of cars 1 lap down or more, but to see 100% of the field still out there nearing the halfway mark, remarkable.
It is great, right? 30 cars still on the lead lap. That last car being, I think, Aaron Brunner, who's about 41 seconds off the leader right now. But you're right, everyone's still out. That's a great job. It shows the how clean this race has been. I'm going to say it again. I almost you scared me with that replay, by the way. You got me good with that replay last time. I thought I jinxed it live when I saw that replay. But no, it's been a great race so far. And you keep mentioning this fog, and I have to ask you, and you and I have not talked since the 24. What does a pit reporter do for 6 hours of fog? Like, I shivered when that comes iRacing. No, I don't need that as a commentator in iRacing. I don't know what to do with that amount of time. What do you do as a pit reporter with 6 hours of fog? Do you just get out there with a towel, just kind of trying to wave it away? What were you doing for 6 hours?
Well, you make ridiculous suggestions like iRacing needs to introduce safety cars for fog so that people get themselves worked up into a tizzy. Oh, I'm so glad that you heard that as well, Derek. I got multiple messages about that. I'm so proud of myself. The real answer is you walk up and down pit lane hoping to find someone who's willing to talk to you. The problem was, because you had drivers who legitimately would do, I think Kiffin Simpson did 3 hours and 58 minutes in the car without pitting because they were going so slowly and they were burning such little fuel. So there really wasn't much activity, to be honest. But for anyone who's been to Daytona, it's hard to describe, Derek, just how quickly it kind of descended on the track to the point where I was standing on the pit lane and couldn't really see a Ferris wheel because that's how intense the fog was. But then when we got to 8 o'clock or whatever in the morning, and I very confidently said on the broadcast, oh, there's no way we're going green before 9:30 or whatever, it burned off in about 10 minutes and we were ready to go racing. It was Johnny Knotts, who's been at Daytona for about the last Rolex 24s. He said it's one of the weirdest Daytonas he's ever been to.
Yeah, maybe not to the same extent, but if you talk to a Florida native, they call them this like Florida showers, right? It just those things roll in and roll out. You never know how long they're going to be there for, and you just kind of deal with it. But yeah, that's going to. I feel for you. That had to be tough. I couldn't imagine. I called an iRacing race where the league admins of an endurance race, there were some disconnect problems, or someone had made a boo-boo on the pace lap, so they red flagged it. Like we said, we set through a red flag of an iRacing race for 40 minutes a couple months ago. I was out of stories by 25. Just want to point that out to you.
Yeah, the great thing about the 24 was the safety car basically overlapped entirely with the period that NBC let us at IMSA Radio take over the broadcast on Peacock.
Right, on Peacock, yeah.
They all went to the hotel to sleep, and we had IMSA Radio podcast time, is basically what happened. It's not actually the worst thing in the world when you at least have the cars moving around, right? Because I think it's always worse when it's a proper red flag, as you can now relate to having done it in the sim racing world.
Right.
I've had to do a couple of red flags with Porsche Carrera Cup Asia. Those are always pretty painful, because a lot of the times we have no idea, A, what happened, because we don't have cameras all the way around the track, and B, we don't know when we're going to go back racing again. So there's a lot of awkward fill time. Although we did one round where it was on a F1 weekend, and that was the best weekend I've ever experienced in the real world, with an amount of data that I had access to for the first time, Derek. It was great.
I bet it would be. I bet as a stats nerd, that would be amazing. By the way, we're riding on board with Seth DeMerchant. A couple of you want to point out, Seth up 14 spots. And you see that bumping he's doing up here. It's Matthew Morton. And again, he's pushing the pusher. And I keep pointing out to you, that's such a new thing for us oval drivers. It's not new that you can do it, but it's new that it's successful in iRacing. As we're now going to watch back here from Nicholas Vroman and watch, see if he wants to do the same thing. But something else to note, while the times are not improving in that second pack, Arjuna, there's so much positivity coming out of that group where Garrett Maines and Rocky Boy are just saying, guys, we got it. Like, you guys are finally getting it. We feel like we're making progress. And so while the numbers aren't matching the positivity yet, if you listen to them, you'd think they're gaining like a mile a minute.
Well, at the very least, what they are doing, right, is coordinating. You were talking earlier about how some of these drivers are remembering what all of the other competitors are doing, when they're helping, when they're not. Same things sort of happening here as these drivers figure out, well, who will they work with at the end potentially, and clearly a decent relationship starting to build, although you know what they say, make fast friends and then potentially lose those friends as quickly when we
make new ones.
Exactly, when we get to the end of the race. So you don't need friends in victory lane, right? That's what they say as well, I guess.
Yeah, there's a few drivers who subscribe to that theory, I think. But at Daytona, you'll need them to help you get there, at least to a certain extent, and then you'll use that up. And we'll see that probably later in this run, if or when this group bunches back together. You'll see people who kind of will use one another for a draft until you're no longer needed, and they'll dump them in line, and they'll find new friends. Oh, someone's there out of line. That's a choice to pull up there. And again, I heard the words extremely hot from Charles Wembley, so that's exactly what we talked about earlier. Those engines are getting hot. The problem is every time you do that and you pull up because your engine is hot, you minorly break that draft and you slow that lane down.
That was Adam Blocker in the Grabber Blue who pulled out of line. That's Garrett Maines in the number 2 that pulled out of line. And yeah, you're right, lost another chunk of change. I think with the momentum losing out very slightly. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Derek Watson in the RaceSpotTV broadcast booth. Glad to have your company here on a Friday evening on what is going to be a busy weekend in motorsports. Of course, with NASCAR racing here in the real world. I heard it was a fantastic truck finish. Me and Derek will get to watch it once this race is in the books. There's also WRC in Sweden. There's some Formula E action in the Middle East. And oh yeah, they've been testing some Formula One cars out there as well. And plenty of excitement about that. But the one I'm most looking forward to this Sunday, leading to the next of our iRacing special events in a couple of weeks' time. Derek, it's the return of the Bathurst 12 Hours.
Yeah, a great event in real life, a fun event that happens in a couple weeks in iRacing, but you'll see it this weekend in real life, and you'll see the some small differences in what you do in iRacing. You'll see some, I think, was it only like 2 or 3 GT4s that were invite only to the event, but mostly that GT3 race of up and down the hill. And to me, it's the most terrifying special event we do all year. I know people want to say that the 24 hours of NURB is the most exciting or most terrifying one. That whole mountain scares the crap out of me.
I think I was talking to Lauren Heinrich, and he was saying, yeah, Bathurst is the one that is maybe the most unique of all the tracks. Yes, the Nordschleife is cool. It's one of my favorites, but yeah, the drop over the top, that's what so many will talk about. And yeah, but there used to be a time when that race was multi-class on iRacing. We had Porsche Cup cars racing with GT3s, but I don't miss those days, if I'm being honest with you. Those were chaotic, and we unfortunately had a casualty in the GT4 class in the real world. An Aston Martin tangled up with one of the GT3 Porsches over the top of McPhillamy, seeming as though that is a chassis write-off for the Aston Martin GT4. Question in chat: is this the lead pack or all on the lead lap? We're watching the second pack right now. Charles Wimbley's dropping back in line. This is the leading group with 80 laps complete. Bottom right corner of the screen, you can see the 3 distinct groups that we have, because 26th through 30th or so, they are slightly in front of likes of Cody Porter and Wyatt Gray, but our leaders could have some traffic in the next handful of laps.
And it's very interesting because I was watching the times last time by Arjuna, and the second pack is faster than both other packs right now. The second pack was in the 45s last time by. Your leaders are in the 46.1, and that last pack's about in the 46.3s. So that second pack has figured it out. That they're right. They have figured something out. It's not a lot of a game, but they still have, 118, 119 laps to figure this out and get up there. So it's the battle from 9th on back. That's that second pack we're talking about. That's Nathan Harper, Rocky Boyd, and others. And they are, they're almost a half a second faster last time than our lead pack.
And they are really coordinated right now as well. I think that's what's so important. In the green for the last handful, and another 2/10 shaved on lap 82, closing in on the halfway mark. We're also closing on about halfway through the fuel run. We had green flag pit stops 24 laps ago. Only one caution inside of the opening 82 laps as well, although we had a half scare when a small half spin coming through NASCAR turns 3 and 4 led to a big separation between the lead group and those now trying to claw back that time. Will the traffic potentially help this lead group, Derek, speed back up slightly when they get a few more cars and some more energy?
Depends. That's a hard question. Depends how you catch that traffic and what you do with it. It's very possible this group right here, that what they end up doing is kind of accidentally getting in the way, right? They're probably going to cause those leaders to scatter. It's probably going to cause, I'm guessing, a moment of 3-wide racing, especially if these cars stay on the bottom. And the moment those leaders scatter, those times are going to at least temporarily dissolve, right? They're going to fall apart, and it's all about how fast they get back together. But for that second group, that is great news if or when that happens here. So there's those 5 cars on the bottom. This is our lead pack, and 51 seconds apart. Oh, hold on. Caution's out. That talk is over because caution's out for the second time today at Daytona.
It was Rocky Boyd who had been having some connection issues. I had been keeping my eye on it within that bright blue Chevy Camaro. Well, the leading 8 suddenly find themselves in a very different situation. We'll take a look at the replay, figure out exactly how that all came about. Now, if I remember correctly, Rocky was running towards the front of that second pack.
I thought it was leading that pack.
Yeah, so I think it might have been Harper that was at the very front. Let's take a look here, Derek.
He's got ran over.
It's the 3rd time today.
It's the exact same thing 3 times in a row. We haven't seen watch this replay here. Watch from behind. This is a great view here. The car's going to come up. This might be the same exact thing that happened to Garrett Maines. Oh, that's a little different. Nope, right there it is.
So
that is scary.
I am
as
going
a driver to see that happening.
Yeah, I am going to wonder if that was partially related to some of the technical issues that Rocky had been having. But again, given that we are now in the situation where, you know, we're 4 cars basically locked bumper to bumper, pushing the pusher, who's pushing the pusher, who's pushing the pusher, who's pushing the pusher. I think I've got that one correct. Anyway, that's what leads to these situations, Derek. The fact that there's so much momentum and the driver's just trying to run that through the cars in front.
Yeah, I mean, there's the scary part where we're seeing those connection problems creep in and have those moments when again, you kind of made the comment, I think, during the first wreck. If I see one car inside another car, that's not good. And that makes me nervous as a driver to see the same exact thing happening 3 times now. And I wonder if that will start to affect how eager people are to pull out that move, right? If you now, there's repetition is what I'm looking for in that problem. So we'll see if that does affect him. But now for the first time in probably, 50 laps or so, the whole field will be one big pack.
Yeah, this will be fun because it also gives an opportunity for a couple to maybe fix up some damage. I did notice that the likes of Dranewski, who was a lap or 2 away from going a lap down, scuffed up the front bumper. So everyone will be in. There is no question about that. You need the fuel. And now, execution. So simple for drivers to slide a bit deep in their box and lose a crucial couple of seconds. But now, pit crew will go to work. The best pit stall, of course, reserved for the pole sitter. That's where qualifying may have some importance when we get deep into this race. It's a rocket of a stop, though, from Matthew Morden. 12 seconds on the nose for him. DeMerchant, Forbes, Conklin, Talmage, the top 5 on the race off pit lane.
12 seconds tells me that something's different about that stop. That's not a normal pit stop time in these NASCAR cars. So whether maybe he went 2 tires only and just waited for the gas, I don't know. But there's something different about that stop. We'll wait and see if we can confirm later. I'm going to guess it's 2 tires only, and they didn't need all the gas. So that may be the right call here because we were only, 20, 21 laps into this run. So you don't need a full tank of gas right now. So right sides only. Watch the car here. It's going to lift up maybe, or is it just gas? Oh, there's the left sides only. Sorry. The opposite of what I thought it was going to be. They won't do the right sides next. It's left sides, it's gas, and he'll pull away.
Nice and quick stop there. So, I'm just trying to look through the field to see if there is anyone who is in pit lane and taking significant repairs. The answer is yes. Includes Dylan Basin. Includes a whole handful, in fact.
Garrett Maines is back down there again. Rocky Boyd, of course, is down there. Wyatt Gray's down there. So, yeah, there's a few of them. By the way, Yuma Yao in the 7 car was your lucky dog that time. They had just gone a lap down and not too long ago, and they'll get the free pass here and go back in the lead lap. So that'll put us at, I think, 33 cars on the lead lap.
Rocky, by the way, has apparently said in voice chat they would like to thank their internet provider, so I think does lend some credence to the thought that the technical issues related. But again, remember, it's not the first time we've seen a similar moment. Garrett Maines was tangled up in that initial caution of the night, which I tell you what, we are now going on close to an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes into this race. Why don't we see if we can spool back the replay machine? Always a question mark if we can do that. But Derek, this is how we saw the first caution of the night come out.
Yeah, it's almost identical, right? It's just going to see someone got in the back. Garrett Maines, that same thing where the one car kind of got inside the other. And Maines went around, went up the hill. This still surprises me, by the way, that this is all it is. Watch from the bump. And it was a little worse. And it Maines is up. And how they didn't hit anybody else. Like, boy.
I mean, give credit to Maines for keeping it up on that wall when it could have been quite simple to slide back down, but the field did a good job of ducking down low and avoiding chaos. But we are 2 by 2. We are ready to go. 2 cautions inside of the opening 88 laps. How aggressive are these drivers going to get now, Derek?
Very, because some drivers do not want to end up where they were before. They don't want to end up, in that pack on back. They don't want to end up 14 seconds back. And you've been scratching, you've been itching, you've been hoping for that chance to race. Well, here it is. And for a lot of drivers, there's an important number coming, Arjun, in about 13 laps. That's when you stop counting up on the laps and when you start counting down on the laps. And for a race car driver, that's internally, that's when pressure begins to build in. When the laps are ticking away and going down, it's a whole new level of stress that's hard to explain to someone that doesn't do it.
See, but I think on the other side, there's also a weight that will be released slightly as you get closer to the checkered flag, knowing that, well, less of these opportunities for craziness to end your race early. Morton and DeMerchant on the front row. But we're back to a field of 33 cars on the lead lap. And all 37 still running as we redrop the green flag here. The 2026 iRacing Daytona 500. 2x2. Field building up its momentum. Outside line coordinating pretty quickly. Morton getting a shove from John Forbes. DeMerchant getting the shove from Sean Conklin on that outside line. Back down the back straightaway they go into turn 3. And what a sight it is. All our field stacked up once again.
Buddy, I got a grin on my face. This is Daytona right here. That riding along that we're doing for about 50 laps or so, that's done. This right here, the whole field stacked together within about 2 seconds of one another, first to last. This is the moment. This is what every fan watches for. This feeling of energy, this excitement, this adrenaline. This is Daytona.
Sun starting to set, heading into golden hour, and smiles on faces to have survived this far with the field this intact. Getting close to the halfway mark of this race, we'll also start to potentially think about fuel saving in the opposite direction. Once we cross off those laps, start thinking about the green-white checkered opportunities. Outside line needs to form up once again. DeMerchant's cut down low and being pushed by Matthew Morton. First car up high. It's Sean Conklin all the way back in 7th.
And it really does feel like Conklin loves that outside lane. Every chance we see him, boy, that is falling apart quick, but every chance we've seen Conklin be up top tonight, it feels like he is. He's always up there. He wants to make that work in that one car with, Gossett advertising on the outside. Just trying to make it work. And see him riding up top. You see the car's kind of slightly bottoming out. Oh, someone pulled up in front of him. That is our former leader, by the way, who went to the back earlier.
Johnny Dressler finds himself now getting a shove on the outside. Plenty have committed. If there are any questions as to whether they would be riding around, questions have been answered. We are 2x2. There is no waiting. And I was wondering how aggressive Garrett Maines was going to be. He's up to 17th position right now, slowly picking his way through those lanes. Oh, but this will be the big one. Inside of the front 6. And they're still wrecking as they stretch their way into turn 1. And I see at least 8 cars in need of heading straight to pit lane.
More than that, I think. I was counting probably at least 10, I thought in my mind. That now going to have a hard time. Maggie McGuire's back there, I'm pretty sure I saw. I think I saw Jana Hop get through it. He was back there in that picture for a second. Wow.
Well, they say cautions breed cautions. We were not expecting them to sit back and ride around, but Derek, it all bubbles up as they cross the start-finish line in trouble that goes up high.
Yep. Oh, boy, look at those multiple hits to some of those cars. And yeesh. I think you hit the nail on the head. What, about 6 drivers? 5 drivers survived that wreck. Your top 5. Dressler, Conklin, and a couple others. But, I mean, from 6th on back, it is Damage City. Watch this here. This will be the best view of it.
So let's see if we can pick out the names.
Watch the 3rd on the top lane, I think.
So that would be Evan C. Oh, in the iFly machine. Is he going to fly?
Well, he did.
Oh, no. Fortunately, the anti-fly flaps, as they... not actually known. There's probably a more technical term for them, but they did their job and avoided that car from flipping. Let's do one more look at it from the camera up above. And anyone who was able to get down low for the most part avoids the chaos, I think with the exception of Dylan Bazin, who comes off the worst.
Yeah, I mean, boy, I mean, it's scattered everywhere. Some drivers here are going to have minor damage. Some, I suspect there might be one or two hurt is done for the day. We might have seen our first DNFs after that wreck.
I think you are very, very correct. Well, we had 37 who took to that green flag, previous green flag. Going to be a much smaller number this time around. 4 black flags for getting spun into pit road is what someone was saying in chat.
I heard that. I heard that in iRacing radio. You got speeding, you got probably excessive speeding, unsafe pit entrance, unsafe pit exit possibly the 4 you're looking at here. But more drivers down pit road. They're going to try and cap off that fuel. You talked about earlier, people needing a fuel save. It's less with every pit stop, right? We're 10 laps later than his last pit stop, so why not put more fuel in?
We do have plenty of tires, so could also throw those on if you wanted to, but not really expecting that. And indeed, no jacks lifting either side of the car up. Race off pit road. It's very close between Sean Conklin and Johnny Dressler. I think Conklin just about got the nose in front. Then Kohlmeyer, Mains all the way up to 4th. Tanner Love, Aaron Bruner, Isam Arabi. That's the first time we've seen him in the top 10 alongside of Aaron Bruner. Landwehr, Atchinson, and Gallotta. That's the top 10, and plenty of drivers who have stayed out of trouble and are up now double-digit positions into the top 10.
Yeah, that's what it takes sometimes. A little bit of patience and some wreck avoidance, and you can find your way from the back to the front easier than making any passes. But that wreck avoidance is not as easy as it looks. There was a couple wild rides in there where people just had to avoid it or had to stop. I saw a wild ride for Jaden Hopp when that wreck broke out. So that was the one that stood out to me, and we saw him kind of creeping his way through it. So some drivers do luck out in those moments, but it's like gambling in Vegas. The odds are not in your favor.
At least we didn't necessarily have ARCA brakes. I think for the most part, people were trying to wind themselves down. But the reality is when something kicks off at the front of the pack, it's difficult at these speeds to slow them down. I don't think this was necessarily an incident, though, where it's reminiscent of what we've seen before, Derek, where drivers have just been running through one another. No, instead, this was a little bit more of the lines, outside and inside, coming together.
Yeah, this is a different one for the first time. This is where, you're right, lines came together, and I thought maybe that car up top came down and made the contact, and then it broke loose. Right, and that's the challenge. Remember I said it's fun to watch cars be 2 seconds apart from first to back. Well, the bad news is when a wreck breaks out, 2 seconds is not a lot of time to avoid a wreck.
See some drivers trying to beat the pace car off of pit lane, working on plenty of repair. I get the feeling that maybe we're down to 16 cars that have avoided significant battle damage because everyone else is ducking and diving out of pit lane.
Yeah, I think it's going to be back to maybe Jarrett Talmage in 17th at the most, maybe right ahead of him. You're right, Cody Porter, Rocky Boyd, Matthew Bryan, Mitch Drunowski, Seth DeMerchant on back. That group on your ticker, they all appear to be kind of, doing their best on pit road. So here's the story about Daytona. Silver lining. Not that you want any damage here, but these are long pace laps. These are almost 2-minute pace laps at Daytona. So if you get down pit road quickly, you can get, a minute 45 of damage done and fixed on these cars. And that can be a significant amount of difference of how your car behaves. So, compared to maybe like a Bristol or a Martinsville, you get like 8 seconds per pit stop. You can get a significant amount done here under caution.
And I guess, I'm trying to think what the other full-length NASCAR iRacing Series races are this year.
We have the Coke 600, we have the Brickyard, and we're back to the Southern 500 for Darlington.
Okay. So, some of those, it will be easier than others to get your damage repaired as well.
Yeah.
So
that's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, no, I'm being polite, diplomatic. Daytona eases people into things, I think, in a lot of ways. Of course, the action is physical, but it's a simpler introduction for those who aren't into the nuances, the week in and week out grind that is the NASCAR iRacing Series. Hoping we'll get a slightly longer green flag run. A couple of cars already diving back down to pit lane, though, as we get back underway in a very, very different restart to what we just had. Conklin, Dressler, Maines, Kohlmeyer front to the field and trying to now work that outside line, and already Conklin going from outside to in.
Yeah, not a surprise on any restart for the most part to see the bottom lane jump. Oh, they're 3 wide. They put that top car up 3 wide by himself. He'll fall to the back of the field pretty quickly here, as there's now 2 lanes they're going to push along here. How far back does Dressler fall? I'm guessing at least P20 in this moment.
Yeah. Did he do that intentionally, though? That's kind of the question. There's still plenty of cars with black flags in pit lane that I can see. We are in a
serving there.
Yeah, we're in a very weird position, and so give it 5 laps or so. We'll try and update you to how things have shaken out. Caution back out for what will be the 4th time today.
4th time.
And I see Evan C. has spun once again. So maybe too much damage on that car to be really controllable.
This will be good news for those drivers, assuming they got down on pit road, by the way. We'll talk about it in a second, but watch this here. 2-car tandem pushing. Oh my gosh. That's the 2nd time in, 10 laps that car has been nose first into the outside wall, and I think now that car is officially probably done for the night.
Well, you know, I guess he needed the push to try and stay with those in front. Unfortunately, they didn't really get themselves lined up off of turn 4, and that was the downfall, unfortunately. So I think we'll get to the halfway mark of this race behind the safety car.
And unfortunately, probably what happened there, Arjuna, with the damage that front car already had, the pushing was fine. The bump drafts were likely fine. It's the fact that front car wasn't moving at the same speed as the car behind it. And so it became just too aggressive a bump draft, more than likely. It's likely the difference in speeds that caused that to happen right there in that moment.
Yeah, you could see the front end on C's 26 was still showing those battle scars, so not optimized in a straight line. And I assume it's similar for the Daytona 500 as it is for the Indy 500, where these teams in the real world, you know, they have special cars which special aerodynamic properties. They'll never tell you what makes a fast super speedway machine, but they're always the golden samples, if you will, of the machines that they'll rotate around. And so slippery in a straight line, although, you know, no hands out the window this time, Derek. We're not allowed to do that anymore.
No, we saw that come to life Wednesday night in real life qualifying when Noah Gragson got disqualified for hands out the window.
Wait, did he
qualifying.
really?
He did. Yep. That is a rule that came up last year. A driver,
Joey Logano,
as race car drivers, we're always I was not implementing. We're always innovating. That's the word I want.
Good
and
choice.
Trying to find new ways to make things faster. And was it Logano or someone that wore webbed gloves last year?
Yes.
And there was some thoughts that maybe those webbed gloves were just, you know, making better drag. And so NASCAR said, no, we're not doing that. And to Noah Grigson's credit, he came on the TV interview on FS1 and said, hey, I forgot.
Oh.
You know, like,
okay.
I forgot it was a rule. And so they busted him during qualifying, did not allow us time. He had to go back to the back of his duel and race, you know, for that. But, yep, got disqualified during qualifying for having hand out the window.
Like it. I like the honesty as well. No tires taken on pit lane. It's just a top off on fuel. Jesse Atchison, Aaron Bruner, and Seth DeMerchant, who stayed in pit lane last time for a total of about 100-ish seconds, stayed out there and will cycle to the front of the field. I saw that the rule had changed. I didn't realize that someone had been caught for it. I did see the conversation as well that people were wondering, well, if you can't stick your hand out the window, what else can you stick out? Because the rule as it was worded left some creative interpretations available. Although I don't think you can really move your head and stick it out the window for the purpose of better airflow.
No, it'd be hard to think there's anything. I mean, it's hard to think there's anything else you could do that you could put out the window that would create better. Most things out the window would make, I would think, less airflow, right? If you stick a cup or I don't know what else out there, you're just going to create more drag, I would think. So I don't know.
Someone's going to be flexible enough to have their right foot on the throttle, their left foot out the window, and shaped like an aero device or something. I don't know.
I think you're playing Twister or something, right?
Basically, right? I mean, we were talking about Olympics. It's gymnastics and NASCAR mixed together.
There you go. Remember those old commercials from NBC in the 2000s when NBC carried the Olympics and they had the whole "If NASCAR Did the Olympics" commercials? Does that ring a bell to you?
No, because unfortunately I didn't grow up during that time in the U.S. But now you have given me something that I need to go and search, because
there's a video of a NASCAR going up the high dive board.
Oh, it sounds spectacular. A couple more cars down pit lane, but that I think is handful of those who are a lap down or so, not seeing anyone from the lead lap returning to pit lane, with the exception of just a handful. You talk about advertising, by the way. I do think that NASCAR absolutely smashed it out the park with the most recent video that I saw from them.
Is that the Cletus McFarlane Daytona 500 video?
No, that was the ad that they put out, which was I'm terrible with actors' names. But it was very, very NASCAR-like, where they just kind of back to basics,
back to your roots, back to NASCAR.
Exactly. Let's keep it simple, strip it back, and avoid making it too complicated, which, to be fair, they have also listened to the fans, and the return of the chase. I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be great, I think, for the season to watch that happen and watch it see how it evolves and see what comes of it, and if there's more tweaks that need to be made. That's credit to NASCAR. They listened and they came up with this format. It's a return to a format. I don't want to call it a new format, because if you've been watching NASCAR for a while, it's just a return to almost I won't say pre-Monster days, but I think that's the right time frame on my head. But yeah,
I think it should be good. If the Supercars chaps are listening, maybe you can also follow suit and return back to what you used to do as well. We will hit the halfway mark of this race. I'm being chastised for calling it a safety car. It's both a safety car and a pace car, technically. It can serve in both responsibilities. What do you call it, Derek? Is it a pace car?
It's a pace car. I grew up in NASCAR. I grew up watching. It's a pace car. But I get it. I have all kinds of friends who watch IndyCar, F1, IMSA, whatever. Everyone else calls it a safety car. But yeah, for us NASCAR roots, who grew up watching NASCAR first, it's a pace car.
We just need to come up with an iRacing specific term. So from now on, it's the iRacing car. Off and away. Jesse Atchison, Aaron Bruner on the front row, alongside of Seth DeMerchant, the three that did not dive to pit lane, and Atchison pulls up high, allows DeMerchant to pull alongside on the inside, but the inside not coordinated just yet. Waiting for Adam Blocker in that bright blue 13 to link up on the back of Tanner Love. And now as Atchison gets the shove from Bruner, Conklin working the low line as well. Remember, we've lost a whole handful of cars. It's a lot smaller of a field than when we started this race 100 laps ago.
Yeah, it still looks big from that camera shot. But you're right, we've lost some cars on back to the field, but it's going to be Seth DeMerchant, Tanner Love leading us around. That's a 13 car back. That's Adam Blocker, and he's getting a push there in the back of his view. So that's just how close. That's Love right there. That's pushing Seth DeMerchant. You see the name right there on the top of the windshield banner. There's a 3-wide car up top. I don't think that's on purpose, and maybe just got out of lane accidentally.
That's, I think, Izam Rabi. First time we've seen him in the top 10 today. And now scraping the right side of the car against the wall, hoping that's not going to leave him with any lasting damage. But once more, it does feel as though the intensity has risen. We're halfway through this race, and some of these drivers might have recognized that the field has been cut effectively in half in terms of those still in contention.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But the fact he was scraping the wall a moment ago, Arjuna, tells me more likely it was not intentional to get up there. Because once you start scraping the wall, oddly enough, the best thing to do is to keep scraping the wall until the field passes you by. Because if you yank that wheel too far to the left, or if you get off the gas, you're going to put yourself in front of that field. So the fact he was scraping the wall up 3 wide tells me it was not exactly his choice to be up there, and he was just doing his best to hang on so he did not become the cause of caution number 5.
On board with Adam Blocker, I see plenty of fans in the iRacing chat cheering him on alongside his Power Slide teammates Jacob Oster, Rob Malechka. Blocker's been competing in the IndyCar Thrustmaster iRacing Pro Series. They just finished their last oval round of their championship. 2 more road course rounds to come at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course and the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and our champion will be decided. It's very tight at the top of the point standings, but it's the Italian Michele Costantini that currently sits on top. On top in this race, Garrett Maines. What a race it's been for him. Has he got the damage fixed up? Well, he's confident enough to lead, although only momentarily. Big shove as Sean Conklin gets pushed to the front and gets pushed by a lapped car as well.
These lap cars can play a factor in multiple aspects of this race, and you see this pushing around, just trying to find some lane change. Here comes a big push from him behind. There was an old sponsor. I saw an MB&A sponsor in the front of that car. That's a blast from the past. That's a bank that hasn't existed in a long time.
There are some throwback liveries, even though this is not throwback weekend. That car, by the way, that was giving the shove to Conklin, Jack Mates, who is in position to get the lucky dog if anything happens. Remember, he was fighting at the front. Technical issue dropped him out of contention. And this is the exact reason why he put himself back out onto track, because he knew he could cycle back around and potentially get onto the lead lap and still have a chance of winning this race. We'll go 3 wide for a moment as outside of the top 10 they slowly start to squabble a little bit more than I think they really want to right now. This is still a big leading pack, about 30 cars strong, even though a couple are a lap down.
And right now, as I watch this as a driver, I'm getting that feeling I get when I'm in the car, Arjun. And there's something about being a race car driver virtually, I suspect even in real life. You start to tense up, you can feel something coming. And maybe it sounds like common sense, I don't know, but apparently Dylan Basin doesn't feel it. He's going to go 3 wide to the top and try to get around here. But you can feel it in your bones. You can start to feel that moment when things are they're wiggling too much. There's too much lifting. There's too much chaos. And it's that talk you had earlier. Maybe it's time to move to the back and let this happen. We're now 3 wide up front. But I feel it coming. There's something bad afoot here if this group keeps moving around like this.
Yeah, Jack Mace found himself in the sucker hole, though fortunately he got some help. Oh, very nervy through the tri-oval as Mace cut down to the low line in that red and black entry and almost cleared himself on the nose of a fully black with pink rims. Not quite sure who that was. Remember Dylan Basin at one point? He got mixed up in the big one that we had, but the car's been fixed up sufficiently to the point that he's running up here at the front of the field. Whoever wins this race is going to have a wild story to tell. Just consider the story that Seth DeMerchant's had, or the one that Jaden Hopper's had. He's now down on the low line searching for the lead.
There you go. Remember, he was struggling back in that single lane racing. He was struggling to hold on to the back of that lane, but now here he is up front in P3, trying to find his way up front, trying to pull the side draft. And that's a move that is successful in iRacing if done correctly. And I put a big emphasis on the if done correctly, because it's a high-risk, high-reward move that doesn't always pay off. There's Jaden Hopper up to P2, trying to lead that bottom lane around here at Daytona.
I love that we can have these camera angles showing us just how intense this racing really is. They are down below the yellow line right now, 2 by 2 through the field. If you're just joining us, more than halfway through this 2026 iRacing Daytona 500. Had 4 cautions, yes. 37 started. We're now down to just 34 out there and running. The majority of the field still out there and putting in the work. 3 wide. We've got some lapped cars mixed in as well, don't forget, and there's a car with some damage that now leads that low line at the front. They're wiggling back and forth, sliding around, and Garrett Maines holds on.
this is getting wild. You would think we're like lap 199, not lap 109 with the way they're moving around here. But side by side, 2 by 2, as far as the eye can see, with at least I'd say 7, 8 rows deep here. But those front 3, oh, there's another bad wiggle. That orange car touched that yellow line, Arjuna. You can that's a once in a lifetime thing to save the car when you do that. Oh, here's a lap car ahead.
We'll see what's going to happen. This could be even more chaotic. That orange car, by the way, is not on the lead lap. So the 18 of Joe Carson, still 1 lap down, even the position he finds himself in. Behind him, the 37 of Cole Hooper, also a car a couple of laps down. Matthew Morton in the number 3, the Busch Light colors for Morton.
And listen, I respect what these guys are doing up front. They're trying to say, not get another lap down and see if they can somehow hold on to a hope, or maybe get back in the lead lap and maybe finding their way to battle for this in about 85 laps or so. But you are not making friends right now. If you're Joe Carson, if you're the car behind him and Hooper, you are not making friends with these leaders. Are likely not thrilled that these 2 lap cars are up here trying to lead this lane, because anything can go wrong.
I think from here, 90 odd laps to go, it is a pretty simple 1 stop if the caution is to fly. The fact that our drivers pitted about 10 laps ago, though, does make me question, is there anyone very much focused on the fuel saving, and so actually maybe not too frustrated that you've got some lap cars running at the front of the field. The reason I bring this up is really the fact that I've seen Adam Blocker drop back from 2nd to 15th position, which could be getting out of trouble, could also be something to do with strategy.
By the way, the fans in the YouTube chat will not be happy. I saw they now created the hashtag block party, by the way, to help cheer on Adam Blocker. There's a block up top, and there's a move up top by that Busch Light car, and that is now going to cause a small gap at the bottom and put another car helping build momentum on the top lane here. And there's Hooper. He went up. Now we got 2 lap cars leading both lanes in Daytona.
Now they're going to be probably a little bit frustrated. I have no doubt about that.
Oh, no.
Oh, we were very close to disaster. Morton wanted to get to the inside of the 37. Hooper saw it late. By the way, because I am teammates with Adam Blocker, I can tell you that he's in a voice chat right now with how many other people? 7 other people, none of whom I think are actually in this race. I'm sure he's having a blast just talking and listening to the chat amongst everyone else in that Discord right now.
That stresses me out thinking about it, by the way, the driver. Oh my gosh, okay.
Oh, the chaos. And 2 of them are streaming. I can tell you that. One of them is streaming sailing. The other one is streaming Bathurst. So only a partial...
Sailing.
Yeah, we're an odd group in my team. What can I say?
I guess so. Well, up front here, this is a new leader, by the way. This is Shane Kohlmeyer, who's come up with the 23 car and now led a lap. I'm pretty sure Arjuna, for the first time tonight, at 30 spots here, has found his way through the draft. See the iRacing logos on the back of that car there, and having a good run. Now we got, I think it's going to be Kohlmeyer, Morton, DeMerchant is in 3rd, but he's not in 3rd in lane. There's still Hooper and others in the mix here. So now the bottom lane is getting lined up with those 2 lap cars up top here. So things are starting to come into their natural order, so to speak.
Sun continuing to set.
By the way, that's going to be difficult for these drivers too. I don't know if we're there yet, but we're going to get to a point where that sun back there is going to beat you in the face out of turn 4. And if you're back in this pack, if you're 4th, 5th back in line, it is hard to see where everybody is out of that corner.
Especially if you're in virtual reality. If you're in triple screen setup or even just a regular single monitor configuration, there are things that you can do to make your life easier. It's a lot more difficult. You've got the headset strapped onto your head. Something that we've seen plenty in the IndyCar iRacing Pro Series, actually. There's 3 cars up front, bit of separation now, but realistically, it's not really changing too much. Lap cars are actually bringing Sean Conklin into a couple of car length advantage for the time being. There's no point really getting excited over anything that happens right now, because only the last couple of laps are of consequence.
Yeah, the good news for Conklin is that the field didn't really swallow him up with that lead. That's what can happen at Daytona. If you get a lead like that if you're Conklin, there's no reason why that bottom lane couldn't have just went on around and rode that draft and just kind of pushed him back in line. But they all held their spots here. They did the polite thing, and we're still status quo. Here's Jaden Hopp, by the way. I said a great league racer I'm aware of, a youngster, by the way, up here battling with some of the best in iRacing. Behind him is Steele Langford, who's, ahead of him, pardon me, Steele Langford, who's up 10 or 11 spots, depending upon the moment. And I gotta say, that's part of the fun of Daytona as well. That ticker on the left side of your screen, Arjuna, those green names means you're up a spot live. Those red names mean you're down a spot. Any lap you watch at Daytona under green, there are names moving up and down that ticker at all times. No one stays the same from lap to lap here as a whole, not the whole field at least.
And this is why we've had conversations actually about how frequently we should update the tower, because the real world, they have timing loops every set amount on the track. In the sim world, we have it. Oh, never mind. Big one. Once again, Matthew Morton hard into the outside wall. And have we been able to get away without much other madness? I see a couple of slow cars. There's Justin Campbell. Cole Hooper's got a meatball flag as well. He's headed back to pit lane. Oh, wow. But we're now 2 cautions that have been big contacts.
And this is... Wait and see what's going to happen here. This is big. I mean, they're working after the caution here. I don't know.
See if we can catch up with the initial trigger, who was the push car of Matthew.
Rocky Boyd is saying he was involved in it. We'll wait and see here.
So here we go. Morton's up high. 3rd car in queue, Derek.
Comes down. That's a good pass right there. A good. Oh, there it is. Yep, 3rd on the bottom. Is that Conklin who got in the back end of somebody and got him wiggled around? And I think the answer is going to be, if you watch from Conklin's view, Arjuna, not centered up when he makes the bump draft.
So already seen that once before. So I think that's Conklin, actually. Yeah,
that may not be Conklin. No, that's the iRacing car. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that would have been Shane Kohlmeyer, but you are correct that I think it was just slightly offline. And well, actually, I called it a big one. That could have been a whole bunch bigger. And well, also crucially, comes at a very interesting time. Let's flick it over to laps to go. 83 left on the board.
If I'm a driver, I'm kind of sad they didn't wait 2 more laps, honestly, because this is going to be close. If you pit here, which you should, by the way, not saying you shouldn't. If we go about 40 laps on gas, you're going to be down to 43 to go. And if we stay green, there'll be a lot of lifting and coasting from here by the people who want to win this race. You almost wish it would have happened 2, 3, 4, 5 laps later. But guys, watch this. Here's the replay. This is from behind. Here comes the bump. Not centered. Yeah, see how his front bumper's lined up with the faux, brake lights on the left side, and that's what caused that to go around.
So here we go into pit lane as expected. Now, the uncertainty about the number of green-white checkered attempts is what makes this so interesting as well. Unlike the real world, we don't have an unlimited number of attempts, but 3 attempts at overtime, and we will use them if needed to settle this 2026 iRacing Daytona 500. Both sides going onto the car for Sean Conklin. Very different to what Kohlmeyer, Wimbley, Hopp have decided to do, because half the time in the pit box for them, and Conklin's going to emerge 6th on the road, just 5th on the road rather, just in front of Steele Langford. We've got a split call then, Derek.
Yeah, I don't mind it, honestly, because it's an interesting spot where, again, I said earlier, tires don't wear at Daytona as much as they do in other tracks in iRacing. Tires are not necessary, per se, as weird as that sounds in this current tire model and simulation. So I don't mind the no tire call. If that's what you want to do, go for it. We'll see how it plays out. This isn't a case where being at a 1.5 miles or being in a bigger track where that grip matters. We see someone do that at maybe the Coke 600 that we'll cover in May, and you'll get swallowed up by the difference in tires and grip and comfort in the car. But the draft will normalize that at Daytona. I think it's a good call.
Bit of a plug, I think, since you mentioned the Charlotte Motor Speedway event, the Coke 600 coming up in the month of May. Well, for the first time during the Coke 600 weekend, you can visit the Sim Racing Expo, which for a number of years has been hosted in Germany, initially at the site of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, more recently has made its way on over to the edge of Dortmund, effectively. But they are bringing the show over to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and that's going to be a really cool experience to go and see a bunch of different sim racing hardware. Of course, experience the Coke 600 as well. And so if you are in town, if you're going to be attending the great race, make sure you head down to Sim Racing Expo Charlotte as well, the weekend of May 22nd through May 24th.
And that's a great event, and I've never been, but my beneficiary of that event in a weird long time ago, and I don't remember what year it was that, and I don't know if they're playing this year, I'm not promising, I'm not involved, but in the past they've done races with live commentary at some of those expos. And that's when I learned that iRacing commentary was a thing. I might be wrong, but I said that video I saw a long time ago was a fellow RaceSpot current members or alum, that Connery Maderick may have been involved in some of those, and just watching those of people calling races live and the excitement. I was like, oh, that's a thing. That sounds fun, and kind of got involved in it. But yeah, those are great events. Hey, speaking of plugs, I want to ask you a question here. We're coming through the back straight at Daytona. Are you surprised that no one has tried to put sponsor logos on the down the back straight yet?
No. Well, what do you mean by
sponsor? Prime TV. That's prime, like down there below the surface where there used to be grass. Are you surprised no one hasn't bought that space? Yeah, like where that grass used to be. That is prime TV camera space in real life, both for IMSA and for NASCAR. I am stunned there's not some big advertisement down there.
All I'm going to say is bring back the grass. Although, be careful what you wish for, because the people at Daytona, they are very careful. They want to protect the grass on the main infield as much as possible. I was just going to say, you walk where they tell you to walk. I heard a couple of people getting chastised when we were taking that big photo of all the IMSA cars. Right, crucial caution comes to an end, and we get back underway with Shane Colmar, Charles Wimbley at the front of the field. But maybe now a one stop to the end of this race, and with what effectively now is whittled down to a 28-car field. 37 started, 28 left on the lead lap, and a lot of separation on that line. Adam Blocker's got 10 car lengths between him and the car in front.
Yeah, the way you're going to find out this is a one-stop race or not is how eager these cars are to lead. If you see Jaden Hopp on the bottom of the second car, or if you see Seth the Merchant up there up top, or any of these other cars want to start moving and take the lead, that tells me this is not a one. That tells me how critical fuel is here, right? If it's a one-stopper or not. Because if you want this to be a one-stopper, you need to save some fuel in these cars. You need to sit back maybe 85% on the throttle and hope to eke out every iota of fuel you can find in this race.
Looking from up above, effectively the entirety of this leading pack. Wimbley's the one controlling high and low. At one point we heard him talking on the radio about temperatures. This will be great for him. Clean air instead of the hot air being sent through the radiator. Now 78 laps to go at the line. On the left side of the screen you'll see the movers and shakers, those that have made their way forward, the likes of Kohlmeyer plus 28. There are some drivers though that does not really tell you the story. Take a Garrett Maines, for example. Started 15th, is in 16th right now. But what a topsy-turvy day he's had, to say the least, Eric.
Yeah, up and down, involved in a wreck. And still, I think, knows he cannot lead laps. That was a conversation during the last green flag run. And they were saying, hey, Garrett, you probably can't lead the lane. He's, yeah, I'm figuring that out. So he's now aware of his situation and what's going on. But up front here, it is going to be a great battle with Steele Langford, who we saw, remember, in that bottom lane about 5 cars deep earlier, is now up leading that top lane.
Forward with Blocker, who's bridged that gap on the outside. Gives a shove to the back of Nathaniel Landwehr. And I think at this point, Langford might be able to slot down into that low line on the run up towards turn 1, but he's getting such momentum from the outside. It's not just him. Landwehr is able to go as well. That's a really interesting sign as we continue to download our data, fine-tune our algorithms, and figure out what we need to do on the run to the checkered flag at the end of this race.
And I want to come back to a topic from earlier about data. Right now, there's a lot of data being handed out by the drivers to one another. So we saw, for example, we saw Langford come down and just, move down that lane. Who did he move with? Did he leave one up top? Did they not wait for someone to be clear? We're getting to that point of the race with 77 laps to go, where every decision you make will benefit you or haunt you later. Who works with you? Who doesn't work with you? Who leaves you out to dry? Who doesn't want to have you push because maybe you're a scary pusher? Every piece of data, it's not just about how the cars behave. It's about how you're behaving in the car and who you're impressing or who you're making enemies out of.
Not only was I a scary pusher, I was a scary pushee. You neither wanted to be pushed by me, but you also didn't want to push me. Puts yourself in a difficult position into the closing stages of these races. Walker's gone back up high, linked up with Bruner momentarily. Shifts back down low with Isama Rabi in that purple Yahoo entry. Steele Langford, that green and blue machine, then tucked in behind. And what seems to be about 8 on the high side for the time being. One more joining them further back in line as Blocker shifts back up. Aaron Bruner takes the opportunity to slingshot then down to the inside. He'll take the lead of the race over. And now look at the gap that's formed behind El Rabi. Even though a lot of the incidents have come from drivers being able to get in line, lots of gaps being left. Blocker's left by himself up high.
Yeah, he moved up, and then the draft went around, or the line went around him, and he didn't seem to mind. So I wonder if he now wants to fall to the back here and just get in line and ride. By the way, I think that car up there, that's Jesse Atchison. I think that's the unnumbered car with the pink rims. If I'm reading my telemetry right, it's kind of hard to tell with no number on it, but I'm pretty sure that's Jesse Atchison now leading the top lane.
You are correct. I'm sitting here wondering, the reason why he's got no number on the car is because the number is black. And so it's just very much blended in to the side of his Ford
I had not put
Mustang.
that together yet.
No, it took me until I looked at the timing tower. Now, for those wondering maybe where some of the paint schemes are, a lot of drivers upload their paint schemes to Trading Paints with custom numbers. We aren't using custom numbers. We're using their iRacing assigned numbers so that we don't have 5 9s or whatever the case would be. We want to make sure that every car has got a unique number and makes Derek and my life as easy as possible to figure out who is who. Bruner's going back up high now. We are at that point, though, where I think drivers are antsy to be towards the front.
Yeah, you got to be now. You're 73 to go. It's time to start moving to the front. Maybe you don't lead yet, so you save some gas, but you have to be involved. You need to be somewhere near the conversation. Because now the what ifs come in your head as driver, right? What if this stays free? What if there are no more cautions? I don't want to be back there 14 seconds back again. I'll never catch that field. So you have to be involved here. And I love the no custom numbers thing. And you're right, it's difficult. I mean, hey, 5 9s, great. Balatro, bad for iRacing commentators.
Oh, and don't get me started on the way that in dirt racing that they'll just add letters to numbers just to...
or 3 numbers, or yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. And if you have to put a 0 before a number, by definition, it's no longer a number, and it's now a string of characters. But that's a programmer in me starting to come out very slightly. Another driver, by the way, with a quite up and down story. Remember Mitch Dranowski? Oh, as Steele Langford gets below the yellow line, and that's trouble. Is he going to have to lift off and, yes, bleed back into line?
Nice job.
Oh, has some friends behind, that's for sure.
That's, well executed blend back in. It's scary he was down there, and I'm sure he was scared. But there's a lot of drivers across the service who would not have blended in that well, and that would have been a very ugly scene right there. A great job by that that blue and green car to blend in.
And Mitch Drunowski, just when we were having that long green flag run, was just about to go a lap down, and then the caution came out. So how quickly things can change. He had a bit of front nose damage as well at the time. Back inside the top 10. A look from up above. Oh, another caution almost from the pushers lining up and causing chaos.
Yeah, a lot of chaos. There it is. And that's the blend back in. It happened, and good for him. And watch how he's going to get down, I think, on this replay on the top of your screen here. Watch the... man, I don't know what happened. It's like he tried... I think he thought he was going to pass the Yahoo car, and he realized it wasn't going to work out. A couple messages from chat, by the way. No, Arjun and I have not seen the truck race. We're here, so I'm going to watch it later, so no spoilers. I don't know. Arjun, you have like 19 monitors over there. Maybe you have seen the truck race.
No,
I don't know.
I'm a bit too focused on...
Okay.
Oh, to go open the curtain, there's only 2 of us on this broadcast. There's me and Derek, and everything that you're seeing is coming from us. So a lot going on right now, to say the least.
A lot going on. Also, a lot of love for Adam Blocker in the YouTube chat. And then NY Vice, whoever you are, suggested that we should have 6 for custom paints, 6 7s. That's not a funny joke.
No, children. You see, jokes used to be funny. Like 69, that was funny. 6-7, not particularly funny. They are 3 wide, 3 rows deep, and Seth DeMerchant gets back below Mitch Drunowski. And with 69 laps left to go, I did not plan that, that's for sure.
I thought you did.
Oh, I wish.
I thought that. I was like, that's good.
I wish I had the mental capacity to think of puns like that right now. But when you go 3 wide, 3 rows deep, the willingness to push up that third line, there's a few drivers starting to experiment and being willing to risk it. And go back to Adam Blocker for a second. He's dropped back even further into the queue now. He's sitting in 20th and comfortable down low.
Yeah, very comfortable. And again, that bottom lane is getting so long now, I think, because drivers do want to save that fuel. They are planning for that what-if scenario. What if these are green flag pit stops, right? You need to save every droplet of fuel you can find, every gallon, every liter, every oomph, every iota, whatever you want to measure it in, and see if they can save. It don't matter, because we're going to be very tight on fuel if this stays green. There's a bunch of blocking to Seth DeMerchant, and he's getting bumped around, and more bumps upcoming here. And boy, this is just it's getting aggressive. That's Garrett Maines, by the way, that was pushing. And if you notice there, Arjuna, Garrett Maines has got more damage fixing that car. That car looked massively better cosmetically than I thought it did about 100 laps ago.
The front end resembles a Camry that you can get off the showroom floor nowadays, which is a good sign. Also great news for Jack Mace, because he is back into the mix, albeit, yes, offset on fuel as we got cars up high and now down low. Scattering they go, and we'll get another caution. There's no question about that. 67 laps to go. Jesse Atchison, Issam El Rabi, Jaden Hopp, 3 of the cars involved.
Yeah, a lot of cars are going to be involved here. We'll wait and see what's going to cause that. That will erase the whole fuel conversation. That's going to be done. They'll pit here, and they'll be good for one more stop.
Derek, Seth DeMerchant has got a meatball flag from all of that as well. How quickly things can change.
It has changed around, hasn't it? Just watch what's going to happen towards the middle of the field here.
I think it actually happens at the front.
I think there's 2 separate incidents. I actually think there's 2 separate moments that kind of come together. Watch the top lane and watch the bottom lane. Is it all connected, or did I miss something?
So it's Joe Carson in the Home Depot 18 that gets shoved, and then...
Oh, there it is. Yep, you're right. I think he's going to come up.
And then, from there,
okay. Yeah, you're
squeeze, and then the slip and slide starts. And once again, credit to the field, because this could have been a whole lot bigger than it ended up being.
Yeah, some cars going around here. There's the 37. There's Lankford, by the way, just kind of T-boning the 37. That'll be a problem. Some of these cars just through the grass, by the way. Sometimes the best way to avoid the wreck at Daytona is to throw it through the grass. So just because you see someone in the grass here doesn't necessarily mean the worst of things. I'm pretty sure that Yahoo car was okay, minus the fact he just kind of yanked it too hard to the left. So maybe a bruised pride might be the worst damage to that car.
Let's ride with Seth DeMerchant and see where he picks up the meatball.
It's going to be a spicy one, too. Watch this.
He's okay. He's done a great job so far.
Not okay.
Yeah, the 17, Jaden Hopp. I don't think there's much that DeMerchant really can do differently in that situation. Let's see if
the good news, it's not that bad. I know it's a meatball, but I don't think it's that bad. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say let's ride with Hopp because he was the one that got the squeeze from the Home Depot machine. And I mean, he did everything in his power to try and minimize the impact, but he just couldn't wound it down.
And weirdly enough, despite, I mean, a full 360 and getting, you know, pushed up the hill, overall, I don't think that bad a damage for the 17. Like, it's going to be some damage to that car, but for being in that spot, it could have been 100 times worse.
One more look at the super slow-mo as we see pit stops
right there
in the bottom right.
The Merchant.
Man, Jack Mace is the one that gets through things, and this actually comes at a perfect time for him because it will equalize him with the rest of the field on the fuel number. Let's see who's going to win the race off pit road. Behind Garrett Maines, it's Shane Kohlmeyer, John Forbes Jr., Sean Conklin, Aaron Bruner, Jesse Atchison, Dylan Basin, Drunovsky, Campbell, Blocker, your top 10.
By the way, I saw it when the laps to go when that wreck broke out, but the 6-7 struck again right there.
There's a reason why that's such a terrible joke.
Yeah, it struck again. I looked up, I was like, oh, that's bad timing right there. But yeah, the DeMerchant thing, I'm curious see how long he's on pit road, but I want to come back to that. I mean, the meatball flag, you know, typically I think in iRacing when you see it, we think of terminal damage, we think of broken motors and whatnot. Likely maybe a broken toe link for DeMerchant. He's still down there. I'm trying to move multitask here. Has the meatball been removed yet? 1 second, please.
No, it's still there, unfortunately.
Still there.
Yes.
A broken toe link, if that's what it is in iRacing, is about I think a 6 to 8 minute repair required. So under caution, that's what, 2, maybe 3 laps. Not the end of the world, not the best thing you want either.
Are they forming up 2x2 already? No, that's just the function of the
cars.
Yeah, catching back up to some of the lap machines, and we're playing some bumper cars. Yeah, that's DeMerchant, I think, calling it quits. He has left the session, and I think a bit too much damage for him to get patched up. Well, we had such a great initial run. The first caution came out, on lap 5, and then we went about a full hour before the second caution of the night. Since then, they have come thick and fast. We have had 5 cautions in the space of about an hour, and we find ourselves releasing a couple of cars back onto the tail end of the lead lap, forming up 2x2 and getting ready to go back racing once again.
Yeah, it wasn't like 100 laps ago. We discussed fog and IMSA. We were having to go all the time. It was kind of chill, single file, and then ever since that caution, you know, I think just at the halfway point, it has picked up tremendously here. So, and it's going to get exciting. And we're not done picking up the intensity, by the way. We still got 64 laps to go. We got potentially another set of green flag pit stops to go. We're not done with those. Those will be short stops, by the way. So that'll be who can get on and off pit road the fastest if those happen. And it's going to get exciting from here. We're not even close to done.
Not even close. Forewarning, of the 37 starters, we are now slowly culling the field. 5 DNFs. DeMerchant joining, Cole Hooper, Evan C., Nathan Harper, and Maggie Maguire. A couple of those cars, remember, have run inside of the top 5. One small mistake, and not necessarily with those fighting at the front of the field. It can be lap machines, Derek, that can cause a little bit of the spiciness.
Certainly can, yep. By the way, you can tell right now that the drivers are trying to keep cool and calm and collected. They're trying to kind of keep loose and ready here. The conversation under caution, 8 shifters or paddle shifters? And they're all kind of comparing back and forth what they use.
We were talking about this on the Motorsports UK Cross Car Championship that kicked off this past Wednesday. That car uses a sequential shifter in the real world, but we had plenty of drivers with the Formula rim. We were talking about good old Bobby Zelensky well known for using Formula rims here on the ovals as well. Back into the restart zone, Garrett Maines. Who would have thought, after taking on damage in the opening caution of the night, is the one that leads us back to green. Behind him, John Forbes Jr. on the low line. It's Colmeyer and Sean Conklin trying to link up high. Highline being the one that's been able to pick up the momentum relatively quickly in the early restarts, but the low line now becoming increasingly coordinated. Maines shuffles up high. He wants that speed. It allows Forbes Jr. the chance to get the push from Aaron Bruner.
You and I discussed the terms data and science experiments throughout this broadcast. So what can we learn from the racing? This is a great learning moment for Garrett Maines. That car's never going to be 100% compared to the, what it was after that first wreck. But right now, is that car good enough to lead? That's the question right now of how does this car behave leading this line? Do drivers get frustrated and just kind of leave him behind? Right now, so far, the answer is no. That is great news for Garrett Maines.
And all 32 cars out on track are in this pack. So we've got 3 cars 1 lap down. Colby DiCarlo, Brandon Schmidt, and Joe Carson are fighting to be in the lucky dog position. Everyone else fighting to be in contention at the very end. That is all realistically you are expecting. This race can be cruel as you head into those final stages. One decision could be the wrong decision. Put yourself into the danger zone. Maines back up high. Down low. Colmeyer is going to get the push from behind and challenge back up to turn number 1. But we are 2 by 2 through the entirety of the top 15.
Yeah, we definitely are. Maybe a little deeper than that. We're going to be 2 by 2. And Colmeyer right now did a good job, at least on the front straight, of kind of getting a good enough push that Garrett Maines could not pull back down. I think now that's different. Maines now has clear. In fact, the car behind him is also clear. That is Sean Conklin, I believe, in the 1. A little hard to see through the glare. Yep, there it is. It is Conklin in the 1. Maines back up again. He is trying to control both lanes here. He is trying to make sure that neither drafting line gets a big run, because every time he moves up and down, he's kind of affecting the runs of both lanes when he does that.
Those wondering where Jack Mace is, he did take some more damage repairs, and so he's a little bit further back on that low line, about 6 cars back in the line. 60 laps left to go. Conklin and Bruner still on that outside momentarily. Conklin covers the low line, pops in front of Maines. And who are the friends?
Nice move.
Who are the friends, though? Is Conklin and Maines becoming friendly with one another? What are you hearing on the radio, Derek?
It's mostly right now about when to push and when not to push. And that's probably a good topic to bring up here. We talked earlier about the changes in pushing. As you see Jesse Atchison basically pushing that car ahead of him through the corner here. That's still a highly debated topic in iRacing right now. When do you push? Some drivers do not love being pushed in the corners. Yes, it's successful, but we used that analogy earlier of risk versus reward. The risk is way higher than the reward of being pushed in the corner if it goes bad. So that's a lot of the talk right now. I heard someone say, hey, I don't want to be that guy, but can you not push me right now? That's like, oh, I know what that's about.
And I'm sure that conversation quietens down when you get to the end of the race, because drivers recognize that you are going to get pushed when you get pushed. Maines with a big helping hand from Bruner retakes the point. Conklin's going to think about sweeping up high, but doesn't quite want to cover off Jesse Atchison just yet. Stealth Black with the pink wheel rims. He's getting shoved by the orange machine for Mitch Stranovski. 3 wide momentarily. Not sure that's intentional necessarily, and no one else committing to the 3rd line just yet. And what that really did was steal a lot more momentum from the 2nd line. That's now trying to work back to the point of the field.
Yeah, doing a great job as that bottom lane. That top lane, that all they need is one good bump. Maybe one car to pull up here in front of Atchison. And next thing you know, they'll be right back in this battle. So although they look like they're 8 cars deep currently, it doesn't take long for Drunowski to push Atchison and some one person, whether it's Bruner, Conklin, Colmeyer, Dylan Bazin, anyone to pull up here and give them that little extra draft, and they'll find themselves back to the front in no time flat.
You can see that Drunowski popping out slightly as we sweep out through the run to turn one. He's just getting a bit of clean air into that radiator. Remember, temperatures. You don't want to run too close to the car in front and overheat the engine. And, well, I wondered if that was maybe some of the thought for those ducking below the yellow line. It seems a little bit uncoordinated. Jack Mace alongside now with Jesse Atchison. That second line dropping all the way back to 10th position on the timing sheet.
Yeah, dropping back here. And that's okay. I think they're going to find their way back to the front here again. It's just one moment here. That line's getting formed up top, though. And you'll see some pushes happening here. And we'll see when they get up there. Again, still a lot of time to go. 56 laps to go here. You don't have to be up there right now. So a little bit of patience here. But there's a car. It'll start to look out and peek out. And every time you peek out of bottom lane, you're getting a little bit of draft to that top here. And we'll just see a good shot right there of the bumps from the 13 to the 20 as you're trying to move back to the front here.
And even just the moving left and right. It's sometimes hard to remember the speeds that these cars are doing around the racetrack, dropping, yes, below 200 miles an hour through the corners, but then the speed will build back up as they head back up towards turn number one. The sun continuing to set. Glad you have joined us here for the iRacing Daytona 500, the great American race, and closing out the run of iRacing special events here at the World Center of Racing. We kicked off with the Roar. We then, of course, had the 24, and now one final blast here in the Sunshine State before we venture off down to Bathurst for the 12 hours in a couple of weeks' time. Junior Kankipati joined alongside by Derek Watson. Don't go anywhere. We'll step aside for a couple of minutes, but we'll be back with the run to the checkered flag.
So we've been in Charlotte all week long. It's incredible. The whole industry has really been super supportive for NASCAR 25. We've had 8 or 9 drivers trying the game. And, you know, to us, it's just another step in the process of making a great game, right? You want to get their feedback. You want to implement some of the things that they give you pointers on. So enjoy some of the clips of these guys playing the game and just kind of what we went through this week. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We just got done playing NASCAR 25. I would say it's probably the most realistic Xbox PS5 game that I've played. I grew up playing all the old games through my childhood, and it was pretty awesome to be able to kind of get on again, and I'm looking forward to when it comes out.
I mean, the physics, I used to play a lot of games and NASCAR games, and the physics on this game is above and beyond all of them. So initial thoughts are really good.
I was blown away by how realistic the game was, and just going through the couple tracks that I ran, like seeing how true the repave was at Iowa, and the new asphalt lines up with what we have in real life. The grip levels were accurate, impressive.
It's really cool, like see myself in a video game. That means a lot for me, because like I never imagined like saw me in a video game and made me feel like the first time when I jumped in a car, it was the same feeling.
Well, the first time I see myself was, I mean, you dream about those moments, right? I mean, growing up and playing video games, like I said, 2K or anybody, and playing as LeBron James or doing something, right? You want to take your mind off of it, and you have the overall, the 99 overall, you know? So now I get to do that for myself. I'm doing that game 24/7.
For the first time ever, there's a whole new level of authenticity to the NASCAR game with the actual track scans and the car physics, which is going to bring fans closer to the sport.
You can definitely tell that iRacing had a significant impact on this game, from the driving characteristics to the audio, the visuals. You can tell the footprint that iRacing had on this platform, and it's a great thing because it just shows how next level video games can be.
iRacing is huge, so just the opportunity for it to go to a game console is also just a great opportunity for people that love racing or just trying to do it for fun and maybe trying to get into it.
I think the first game that I probably played was NASCAR 05. Got that game, actually had it on PSP at the time, and then played it on console as well. So that's really how I got started, and my friends said that I took the game way too seriously.
As a kid growing up, I was a big-time NASCAR video gamer and would love getting to explore all the different tracks and see what they're about, and going to Pocono and realizing it's a triangle, and how Loudon, New Hampshire is really flat, and just seeing all the variety of different racetracks.
This game from the driver's perspective is what it needs to be. I mean, myself in my own career, there's just that energy level when you walk into the racetrack and you hear the engines and practice starts. There's just that feel that you get when you get in your race suit, you hop in the truck.
I mean, I'll never forget it. My first ever time at Daytona, when I rolled into the garage and they put my car on 4 jack stands and they raise up the hood, and all you hear is the guns going on the tires, the guys working on the car, the spotter, crew chief talking. Like, it took me away because it felt like I'd been in that situation before, and it actually was like I'm actually living this moment that I played in the game a million times. So now to be in this game even more elevated, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's definitely huge.
I can't thank these drivers enough. This week has been super special for all of us to come down here and shoot this content and get their feedback. We've had a long relationship with a lot of these guys, and I'm so excited. Even ones we've just met this trip, the passion that they have and the excitement that they have to get this game out and in the market is super exciting. In case you haven't heard, October 14th, that's our launch date. So we're going to open pre-orders, and we're going to get you that gameplay trailer that you guys are all begging for about a month before. So stay tuned. We got a lot more information coming on the game for NASCAR 25.
Visit NASCAR25.com for more information on the game, and make sure you follow us on social media at NASCAR25Game.
Well, under 50 laps left to go in the 2026 iRacing Daytona 24. And I welcome back to RaceSpotTV, coverage on the iRacing Esports Network. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Derek Watson. Derek, while you and I were stepping aside for a second, drama out on track, and not for the first time tonight. Drama that did not lead to the safety car being needed, and the worst of the results, it was Jesse Atkinson that lost out. It all started at the front, though, with Mitch Stranowski getting sideways.
Yeah, from the cameras we were watching under the commercial break, I just saw this part here with Jesse Atkinson. I missed the stuff up front. No caution. Everyone got it turned around. The only car spun was below the racing surface. So, hold on. I say that, and I brought up the word, and it's happened live. So let's now you guys have to look at that here. But I'll tell you, there was some frustrated drivers by that lack of caution right there. But now we are officially under yellow with 47 laps to go.
And we'll see if we can figure out the cause for this caution. But because Jesse Atkinson spun below the white line, it did not trigger the caution in that particular case, as far as I understood it. Safety car, pace car, has picked up the leader. Whoa! So Adam Blocker involved here. El Rabi hard into the wall, and then Joe Carson in that Home Depot machine backwards sliding down the track.
Like, that's the first time we've seen Joe Carson involved in something this evening, and there's a push in the pusher moment where everyone was not centered up, and that's the bad push right there from Blocker to some basically on the back quarter panel of that white and green car. Sent him on around. Carson likely got the worst of it, honestly.
On board with Blocker, who's had plenty of support in our chat, although that may not have been his finest moment.
No, that's not going to get him extra fans, I can tell you that.
Definitely not new fans, that's for sure. Well, this is another interesting number at which we get a caution. 46 to go when we cross the line. Fuel window on a green flag run right about that 45 lap number. But 3 green-white checker attempts could color what teams and drivers are talking about on the radio. Into pit lane we go. And now a busy time for the pit crew. Execution from the drivers required.
Yeah, this will be interesting to watch what happens here. I think, obviously, the first round of pit stops, full tank of gas. You see the cars coming up at least on the right side for right side tires. Some drivers will only do that.
Jack Mace
off front.
Jack Mace slid through his box, and so he's going to lose a couple of seconds. Not crucial now, might be crucial if we get one more pit stop window at the end of this race. But Morton from Wilhite, Conklin from Dressler, Basin, Mains, Vroman, Wimbley, Gray and Boyd the top 10, and once again, there are some names there that have been through the ringer today.
The interesting story for me, Arjuna, is going to be the names towards the back of this group. And I think what the reason to be interesting to me is if I was in the back of this group, if I was, say, 20th on back, maybe 15th on back, I would come down again and I would top off that fuel tank. It doesn't sound like a lot. It's one more caution lap. But, buddy, when you're going to try to save fuel at Daytona, it matters. I would come down here and I would top it off. And this, yes, you're going to fall to the back of the field, but that's a risk I'll take if I have a little bit more fuel than the rest of my competitors.
You are right. I think slight issue there becomes if you're a Justin Campbell, you've just left pit lanes.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Junso Lim as well as a couple of others. So realistically, maybe Adam Blocker in 15th, he might be thinking about it.
Right.
See, there is Jack Mace. I think he's one that will be thinking about it as well. Now having slid through his box and maybe lost a position or two anyway of track position, at the very least what he is doing right now by going below the yellow line is also minimizing the distance that he travels. These are all the little games that you need to be aware of when you're trying to make a fuel number. Now, Conklin thought about it for a second, but behind Conklin, Dylan Bazin commits, as does Wimbley, Boyd, Mace, Porter, and they all realized exactly what we were talking about, Derek.
Every drop of fuel. I think it's going to come down to that. If we stay green from here to, the lap 200, this is going to matter. And it matters for multiple reasons. Even if we all have to stop again, it's going to matter because it's less time on pit road. It's no different than any style of racing, road racing or what have you across iRacing. Every 10th of a second on pit road will matter later in this race. I would make that call. Now, if you're up front, I get why. A Matthew Morton, a Chris Wilhite, a Sean Conklin doesn't do it. You don't want to throw away the lead. But if you're 15th on back, what is there to lose? Yeah, you're going to lose a few spots, but not as many is my point.
I love the time of day that we find ourselves in. Daytona bathed in the golden sunset. You got the beach just off on one side, the airport off on the other, and we're getting closer to the end of this race where fireworks are to be expected. Derek, how many more cautions do you think we have before the end of this race? I'm throwing you under the bus.
No. I've already been called out in YouTube chat at least once tonight for this. I'm not. No, absolutely. This is like when your partner says, no, absolutely not. I've been through those trap questions like how old am I, or do I look good in this dress, or no, does my hair look good? No, I'm not. I'm not playing this game.
7
How much do I weigh? No, not doing it.
7 cautions so far. 44 laps to go when we get back underway. It's been a rather fun iRacing Daytona 500, I've got to say. Yes, we are seeing attrition start to play its part. But there's still plenty in contention. 37 started, 31 still running. Matthew Morton, Chris Wilhite, front of the field. We go racing once again here from the World Center of Racing. Single file for the most part, except at the front where they are struggling on that high line to build any momentum. And poor Johnny Dressler's left by himself and dropping down beyond 5th.
Yeah, the problem is behind Dressler. Look at that gap to the next car on back. There's only 3 of them up there now. Once they get lined up, they'll make a small move here. Those 3-car tandem will get up there, and they'll make a small push, I think, towards the front here. See if they're able to use that side draft effectively. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to side draft those cars on the inside. There's an extra helper. And see if they can help this. And that side draft doesn't make the top lane faster, Arjun. It makes the bottom lane slower. It'll hurt the draft of the car they're side drafting. But here they come up to the front about a half a lap later, and they're almost back to the lead.
They aren't quite side drafting. They're leaving each other plenty of room between the lanes, which, well, at the very least, is keeping us a little bit safer. It was really cool, actually, being at the Homestead Miami Speedway with the Prodigy Racing League, where sim racers got behind the wheel of some radicals. We were racing around the Roval, but they got a proper taste of what side draft was like, and had some runs to the flag, some photo finishes, and Garrett Lowe, of course, racing for BS Competition the last handful of years in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Won a race for BS Competition, fending off the challenge of 3 of the guild teammates that he was battling against. It's such an interesting nuance side drafting that doesn't really come into play when you're single file all the way through the top 10. Side by side starting to build when you get back to the likes of Shane Kohlmeyer, all the way back now in 15th position.
Yeah, they're pretty far back. This is getting concerning for that top lane. As I feel like they're just going to keep falling back at this rate. I'm not sure if it's just the push isn't good enough or if it's just what's happening, but where they're going to get a surge here in a moment. Arjun, look at that bottom lane. Look at some gaps. Look at that magenta car towards now, right before the ticker, and then look back to that baby blue car behind it, that Advent Health car, I believe it is. There's some big gaps in that bottom lane, and that's going to eventually help that top lane maybe start to creep their way back. Because those gaps in the bottom lane is killing that draft slowly.
What we do know is this is the calm before the storm. Maybe some fuel saving still going on right now for a couple, especially deeper back in that pack, expecting that 1 or 2 green-white checkers, and they'll be right in contention. Dressler back at the front of the field now in that black, yellow, and pink machine. Matthew Morton, Sean Conklin, Chris Lillite, and Jesse Atchison. The rest of the top 5, and remember, again, so many of these cars in the top 10 have been up and down through the day. It's not been easy for any. And I wonder as well, go back to something we were talking about 25, 30 minutes ago. Is the sun going to be in the eyes of some of these drivers, especially those in VR?
Yeah, let's watch this coming here through the corners, and this will be through NASCAR 3 and 4. This is where you're likely to get beat in the face here, if we are where you think you are. And that's the back straight. That's 1 and 2. Sorry, I got to turn around here in my NASCAR corners. It's out of 3 and 4 where we're going to get beat in the face with that sun glare for about, I don't know, 15 minutes of in-sim time. A virtual sim time, which is what I like to call it. Let's see what happens here. We may be a little late. Let's watch the cockpit camera here from Kohlmeyer. It'll be just about here. It's going to come, yeah, right there. And tell you what, that's not a problem right now for Kohlmeyer. He's in line. He can follow the car up ahead. That's not a problem. That's Nicholas Roman up ahead. What happens and what give you grief is if a wreck happens out of 4 when that glare is there. Now you've got smoke, now you've got noise, and now you've got glare. And that's a recipe for disaster.
Yes. Now, in the real world, there's a couple of solutions. I mean, the most basic one would be throw on some sunglasses, tinted visor. It's also sometimes the solution. Sometimes they'll stack the tear-offs on a helmet so that they are strategically pulled off through a race distance so that you work through whatever pattern they have built up. In sim racing, you don't necessarily have any of those tools at your disposal, although as mentioned earlier, if you have a monitor, you can sometimes cheat by turning down the brightness.
Or you can turn off HDR if you want to, actually, and that'll
one.
help a lot as well. Yeah, it's a good one. I will say I'm going to start the campaign here since you started it, and I'm going to blame you. Hashtag nighttime visors for iRacing needs to be a thing. We've come so far in our growth of iRacing on the NASCAR side in the past 5 years. The visors thing has to be a thing that we need. Like that's like top 2 on my wish list. And I'll show you the other one, Arjun. I know we're 30-something to go. Higher limits for special events on the roadside.
Yeah, but that can only happen if you can put tires back on. That's the unfortunate thing.
Well, we have it in the NASCAR side. Why can't we have it on the roadside?
Because you can't pick which tire is going back on. And in endurance racing, strategically, that is a lot more important to stretch out your tires over 24 hours. Although, I say that, not so important in the era of changing tires and fuel at the same time. Ewan O'Leary, if you're listening, he's ranting just in his sleep right now somewhere in the UK. That's exactly what's happened. Big gap building up in front of Garrett Maines momentarily. Yeah, I think we are very much saving fuel right now because let's look at lap times. That's always the easiest way to describe things. We are 1.4 seconds slower than what we've done previously in this race. They are just waiting. It's a ticking time bomb right now before we get to that drop point and the push to the end.
And I want to point out, just so there's no confusion, Arjuna didn't like pick the best example. That's what everybody is down the board. 46.8 for the 48.1. Sorry, for the leaders. Yeah,
3
that
seconds.
is wild.
I mean,
wild that we're slowed down. And you can tell the other way to tell it visually is the gaps, right? Remember what 30, 40 laps ago when we were full throttle and we were just pushing the pusher? And I mean, look at that gap between second and third. And those gaps exist. Look at that back there towards the back of your screen from the orange car to the blue car. There are massive gaps in this drafting line. If we had RPM meters that we could show, I'm guessing they're like 80% throttle right now.
You never trust that in the real world, that sort of telemetry data, as I've come to learn. However, I wish we had it in the sim world. It would make our lives so much more unique in understanding what's going on here. I mean, you can hear it in the engine note occasionally too. The speeds right now, I mean, occasionally we are reaching, I have to convert it because I use the correct units. It's 187 miles an hour that we're doing into turn 1.
By the way, I just shared this thought from YouTube chat. Matt Gagnon, YouTube chat, we were discussing the whole visors thing and the whole sun glare. Says, do what I do. I wear ski goggles while I'm racing.
I'm not sure if that's going to be a RaceSpot top tip or not. We might have to do some independent labs testing of that claim. 34 to go at the line. And now I'm starting to wonder what the point of no return is. At what point do these drivers reckon they've saved enough fuel for 3 green-white checkers? Already a sign that Joe Carson wants to at least start moving his way forward in the field, Eric.
Yeah, no one's good for the green-red checkers. I don't believe that for a second. At most, you're good for the race. And this move by Joe Carson tells me that he knows, or at least he believes, he's not good for the race. So hey, why if I have to pit again, why not put myself to the front? And look at this. That's how much fuel saving. I keep coming back to this topic. It's wild. Carson by himself just drove around the field, and look at that gap. What is it, quarter of a second back to second place? That is not something you should be able to do at Daytona.
I had forgotten that Carson did have to pit again, so that's a good point. He is praying for one more yellow flag to drop, which is a likelihood. Not an inevitability, but a likelihood as we get to the end of this race. Again, going back to what we've seen earlier, and this was a change in drafting package compared to last year, where you push the pusher and push the pusher in front of him. We've seen at least 3 incidents, not necessarily 3 cautions, Derek, but 3 incidents where drivers have effectively been running over cars in front of them.
Yeah, that era is probably over, by the way. Well, I don't think he might have enough gas to go.
We've got a spin. It's the 28 of Landwehr that gets tagged. It's below the white line. So for the 3rd time today, we have an incident, but no yellow flag.
Yeah, someone's got to push that down on the track, so that's the important part. No caution. By the way, there's a car going on around. Is that Jack Mace back to the front?
It is indeed. Has he pulled the cord? Now, I wonder if some of the drivers also expected the caution to come out and try to take advantage very quickly. We'll get some lap times in a few moments' time. Last time, drivers in the 51-second bracket. 7 seconds slower, Derek, than the fastest laps of this race.
I just still believe if you're Jack Mays, if you're Joe Carson, if you're Aaron Brunner now up in 2nd place and you've pulled the cord, there's a car below the line. If you pulled the cord and you've moved to the front, it makes me think you know that you don't have the gas to finish without pitting. So why not get up front and lead? Why not put yourself in the best position possible? Or you are fearful of something happening like what just happened. You want to be at the front so you can avoid it.
Track position clearly is somewhat important the deeper we get into this race. Look at the replay. Oh, Colby DiCarlo. It's very uncomfortable. That's almost like he got out of balance by himself.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. Let's watch it again here. Watch the top lane of the screen. Oh, he got nervous. That blue car came up, and I think he got nervous and then reacted and hit the wall. And It just sort of broke loose for a second there. But here's now more battles. There's Joe Carson. He now wants to lead this pack around as they come up here on a car. They're about to lap in that Yahoo.
And this is on Robbie. Big damage on the front end of the car. So you'll be hoping he can pull down to the apron and get out of the way. Instead actually goes up high. Everyone trying to slink down as low as possible. 30 to go, and we've still got 28 cars in this leading pack right now. That was slightly uncomfortable as they entered into turn 3. Jesse Atchison not quite linked up on the back of Joe Carson and pushing him square, but we do have a second groove that's starting to build.
Yeah, I was going to say, lap times have picked up here. Lap times are now back down to the 49s, even the 48s for some cars like Chris Wilhite. So I think it's done. I think everyone's realized this isn't doable. Let's just go have fun and race, and we'll pit when we have to. There's no point in wasting all that time riding if it doesn't benefit you.
To quote Jason Brophy, former crew chief in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, mean fuel save. When you're 7 seconds a lap slower, yeah, I think that kind of describes it pretty well. Those days are kind of gone. We're only 3 seconds off, and already speed-wise, I think we've trickled back down to where this might end up being a 52-second lap. We'll wait for them to break the beam, but I am not kidding when I say their speeds are now down below about 168 miles an hour right now. 50.757 the lap time for the leader, and there are some, Derek, that want to move to the front now.
This is getting a little weird now, but people want to move to the front. And this gets dangerous, by the way. You got drivers at different speeds with different agendas. It's not exactly multi-class racing, but it kind of resembles that feeling, doesn't it? There's different speeds of cars making different moves in different lanes. And up front, by the way, now it's Brandon Schmidt. He's got Chris Wilhite with him. They've moved to the front as this cycle of cars continues moving on around. And this is going to get interesting. Someone has done this correctly, and someone's going to miss a lot on this fuel strategy. And right now, I don't know who it is.
I'm getting word, by the way, that in terms of just getting to the checkered flag, it is 100% doable inside of the next, I'm not going to say how many laps, I'm getting in trouble for maybe saying that, but we're getting close to the point where it is full burn to the end. And that doesn't factor in green-white checkers, of which we have 3 attempts, not unlimited, which, if we really let some of the sim racers play around with that, depending on what split you end up in, green-white checkers can be great. They can also be terrible.
Be here until tomorrow for some people. Okay. Yeah, that'll be a thing. So right now, up front, Brandon Schmidt is the new leader, and I'm pretty sure, Arjuna, the first time tonight Schmidt has led a lap. Chris Wilhite, Joseph Galata. Galata, by the way, one of only about 4 or 5 drivers in this race who has someone logged in as his spotter in the sim. By the way, I was a little surprised that number's kind of that low. Human spotters give you such a valuable piece of info. The iRacing spotters out. So Paul Hill is here tonight spotting for Joseph Galata, and I wonder how much that affects right now all the decision making, having an extra voice in your ear to kind of help make those logic-based decisions.
Remember that we are on a busy weekend, both in motorsports, but also for those that have partners and want to celebrate Valentine's Day, so that may be some making Friday night plans and maybe doing something else on Saturday night, like watching some of the racing at Daytona. Comment in chat.
Busy couple years for that, by the way. It's NASCAR weekend, Daytona weekend this year. It's NFL big game next year on that day lines up with Super Bowl Sunday and Valentine's Day next year. I might be in trouble next year.
Comment in chat that everyone is +4 laps to the good. So that indicates,
okay.
That indicates that we are very close to that point of pulling the cord and pushing. Lap times back down to 47.8 for the leader last time by. Still Brandon Schmidt at the front. And once more on the left side of the screen, see those who have moved their way forward. Plenty up, more than 20. Remember, the strategy was for only 20 of the 37 cars to qualify. And 17 cars effectively said, you know what, let's start at the back, Derek, and try and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, it's wild to see how this all is forming back together as this is getting tighter and closer to the end here. Some questions in chat, by the way. Everyone pitted either on lap 155 or 156 last time, so we're 22 laps into this fuel stint here. There on your screen, by the way, you'll see how far up and down everyone is in position. A lot of big movers here. Brandon Schmidt's up 29, Galata's up 23, Jesse Atchinson's up 24. Lots of big moves. Aaron Brunner's up 22, up in P10, by the way. So it just shows you that, of course, unfortunately, for every positive, what's that old science thing, Arjuna? For every positive, there's a equal and opposite negative reaction.
Getting close to that point. Maybe in 2 laps there'll be some further back that have saved enough. We'll be able to push. Someone in our Twitch chat saying the guy who's spawning for is close. It'll be close, but again, some people are better at fuel saving than others, and some people have more experience at fuel saving than others, and so that will be really fascinating as well. Lap times have come back down from the quite ludicrous 51 second times we had at 47, 48, the last handful. It does look as though Adam Blocker has pulled the pin up inside the top 10 and using the high line to sail his way forward.
Certainly is. He'll pull back in line right there and get back in line and save some more fuel. The problem with the fuel saving conversation and where I'm skeptical, Arjuna, is yes, you have enough fuel right now when you're in line and maybe you're +1, maybe you're +2, but the moment you pull it out of line and you're the one leading the draft, you're the one without the drafting help, that number is going to rapidly and drastically change on the map. So there might be people who are good on fuel. I'm not doubting that. +4? Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm skeptical.
Confirmation that Blocker is good to the end. Maybe I shouldn't be so surprised, given that Blocker currently is a race engineer with Chip Ganassi Racing in Indy Next. He has worked in the IndyCar paddock in the last handful of years and won the 500 as part of the Chevrolet engine group on Joseph Newgarden's car back in 2022. Problem he's having now is the pace at the front has picked up enough. Struggling on the high line to make moves quickly and efficiently alongside of Jack Mace, slightly stalled out right now.
And the second time he's going to have, again, as I talked about that number, it's going to change when you're up here by yourself. The move he was making before, Arjun, is he was kind of leapfrogging a couple cars and then getting back in line and kind of saving that fuel. But he's going to get back behind the 2 car here before he can even think about getting back in line. That's behind Garrett Maines, assuming he can get in. Every lap he runs the longer way around and with no drafting help, it's going to hurt that fuel number drastically. There's someone down pit road, by the way. Someone can't make it.
Joe Carson, 45 laps for him. We knew that he did have to pit. He was gambling on the safety car. Free position for the majority of the field. Blocker still stalled out alongside of Jack Mace, just waiting for someone to go up and help him. Would it be Garrett Mace? He's the next car behind Mace in line. Then Johnny Dressler, former race leader, who's for large parts of long green flag runs actually been the one punching the hole in the air. So be quite glad not to be doing the fuel saving though. Blocker's got to make these moves quickly though, because the longer he goes up high, the worse it will be. And now finally some momentum. The low line has stalled out to second alongside of 34 machine Arabi doing well, even though laps down to hold on. 1 car down below the yellow line as well. Less than 20 to go. I think drivers starting to get antsy.
They're going to be antsy, and I'm curious, if we keep at this pace, it'll be hard to find any calamity, but I'm sure there's likely to be some risk of it here. But finally that driver got back down the line to Blocker, I believe, was able to get in line in second place and get some drafting help here. We'll see if that did enough damage of riding that top lane a longer way around to really hurt that fuel number. We'll wait and see what the report is from the team. But I suspect whatever he thought he was good is going to be in question.
With that, Derek, the high line starting to form, and outside of Blocker, now Jesse Atchison works his way through. I think a few more are now comfortable on fuel, and Brandon Schmitz had to go and try to block. Jesse Atchison will cut down low and take the lead of the race.
We'll wait and see what's going to happen here. Oh, they're 3 wide. Atchison, that's not Atchison, so that's a black car stuck up top. And they're about 3 wide. Oh my gosh, it's 5 laps ago. We were single file fuel saving. Now the race is on.
Oh, it was Brandon Schmidt, and now Garrett Maines in the middle's got the shove. 3 wide, about 5 rows deep, and throw a blanket over them. 18 laps to go. Let's see the lap times. If the pace has really picked up, or if they're still doing a little bit of fuel saving. Morton shoves Maines back to the front of the field. Oh, well, Robbie goes down low. Morton gets a shove onto the grass, and now he's got to control and avoid sliding back up and causing any chaos. He does a great job to do so. We stay green.
And breathe. That was a nervous moment there for the whole field. I thought everyone had to have been scared he was going to come back up to the field and just cause calamity. So 2 things have happened here, Arjuna. One of them, either everyone's good on fuel, or everyone has decided, hey, it's not going to happen, so I want to be up front in case the caution happens, so I have better track position on pit road. Whoa. It's one of those 2 things, and maybe both.
That was very close for the 11 of Dylan Basin. They were squirrely entering into turn 3. If you've got damage at this point, you've got to be careful when you make your moves, Derek, and there's still plenty of cars that are showing some of the battle scars on the front end. As we cross the line once more and head back to turn 1. Puff of smoke, we get away once again.
Is that? No, it wasn't. Sorry, I got concerned that was going to be a money shift or something, or maybe a blown motor, but no one's slowing down. That was a wild puff of smoke from the back. That had to make some people nervous.
On board with Nicholas Froman. He's on the outside, about 3 cars in front of him. You can see gets a big shove from behind as that 3rd line now struggling to build up some momentum. It's Jack Mace that is the first to think about it. They're going to get squeezed off the corner on the run back to the line. 15 laps to go. I think all these drivers must be good on fuel to the end if they're fighting this aggressively. The pace has indeed picked up as well. Wyatt Gray shoved by Aaron Bruner, controlling at the front.
Look at all the new names up here. Wyatt Gray's up here. Nicholas Roman, Bruner, Garrett Maines is back up front. I mean, there's some new names up here who've decided to wait till now to be relevant. It doesn't matter how many laps you lead in this series. It's about leading the most important one in the last one.
That smoke, by the way, was all that dirt that I think was picked up from the moment through the grass for Morton. Great control from him again, as much as now he's lost a chance of this win momentarily. Kept us green and going. One more comment in chat that the storm is brewing. We have weathered one of the storms. We've got some traffic in front, and at some point we'll be 3 wide once again. It's been fun, Derek, so far. I think now, though, the fun changes into fury.
Yeah, it changes into stress, it changes into fear, it changes into anxiety. Because right now, if you're up front, if you're Garrett Maines, if you are Nicholas Roman, or anyone up front, now the butterflies are setting in. The problem is those butterflies are becoming massive, dude. They're becoming just little miniature dragons or dinosaurs in your belly. You're getting nervous. You're this close to winning a 500. And whether you've done it once, whether you've never done it, or you've done it 3 or 4 times, it feels just as good to win this race. And so people now are getting nervous. Those questions, those what ifs, could I do this? Those are starting to creep in your head with 13 laps to go.
And, you know, you look at the career of some of the best in the world of NASCAR. Some of them have done it all, but win the Daytona 500. It is one of those races that can be oh so elusive. The great thing about iRacing, as Derek mentioned earlier, the number of opportunities you get to try and win one of these races. Whether it's fixed setup, whether it's open setup. This is an open setup race, so these drivers, whether they have grabbed something from a setup shop and loaded it up without changes or dialed it in slightly, built something from the ground up, they've had the ability to make their race car go that little bit faster, make it a bit more comfortable. Down below the yellow line, that's anything but comfortable for Jesse Atchison, but once again holds on. We stay green.
Yeah, we stay green, but this is... Remember, I said earlier as a race car driver, you start to feel that tension. You feel that it's like people say they can feel the arthritis in their bones when the rain comes. As a race car driver, when these moments pick up, you can feel that it coming. The storm is brewing was what was said in YouTube chat, and I agree with that. It's coming quickly here. And as a race car driver, you're now on high alert. any moment now, something could go wrong in this race, and you want to be ready for it.
And as someone who has commentated on more IndyCar oval racing than NASCAR oval racing, it's always a different feeling when you get to the end of these races, knowing that the overtime is to come, and there is no caution that can end the race unless it's that third and final attempt at a green-white checker. Maines shoves Roman up high, now in the third lane, but by himself. Maines wanted the push from Wyatt Gray, but Gray gets down low. 10 laps to go next time by. It's Gray, who now loses out slightly as Jack Mace gets the shove from Conklin, who's back up front once again with his teammate Dylan Basin behind.
We use the term overtime to green-white checker, so literally, hold on, we're not there, but for Garrett Maines and the other drivers to borrow that phrase from our commentator Evan Pasoko, our friend of both of us, that point of no return. That's a phrase I learned from Evan a long time ago. For these drivers, they feel like they're there. They feel like it's now or never if you want to win the Daytona 500.
Point of no return. For some of these drivers came through some of those incidents. We've lost of the 37 that started, a full 7. 3 more of the drivers are a lap or 2 down. And as Maines bobbles up and down the racetrack, uncomfortably searching for where he wants to be, finally lands in front of Chris Wilhite. Gallardo's going to slot in front of him, and now Conklin gets in front of him. Mace is going to be left out to dry. The third line finally finds some momentum very briefly. 9 laps left to run. And that high side still searching for some more speed. No one venturing out boldly for that third groove, except Vroman all the way back in the groove.
Now, and 9 laps is not a lot of time, Arjuna. We're doing 45 seconds a lap, so you're talking about 7-ish minutes of racing to make that move. And here's the fun part of Daytona. That driver you see in the back that you're going, hey, where did he go? In 7 minutes from now, he could be at the front of this pack. Anyone who's on the lead lap is still eligible to win this race.
There goes Mace from an internet disconnection to contact with Maines. That's what happened to Vroman slightly earlier on. Mace tries to return the favor, but this time there's help on that third line. There's a couple of cars that have ventured up there.
It's getting gross.
Gross is one word for it, Derek. If you are nervous, you aren't wrong, because almost 4 wide into turn 1, they will fly.
This is getting wild. This is the part I love as a commentator. This is the part as a driver. Man, if you're 3 wide right there, if you're Nicholas Roman in the middle of that pack 3 wide, there's nothing you can do but ride and hope this turns out okay. And this is gonna just get even crazier in the next 7.5 laps around Daytona.
So there are 21 cars split by 1 second. Any one of those drivers thinks they've got a chance right now, and that's what makes Daytona so unique. It's what makes super speedway racing so special. But the third line has found the momentum, and Wyatt Gray, Rocky Boyd run at the top of it. Conklin and Maines are there too, but Conklin slices down low.
And I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to say it here, Arjuna. This is going to get weird because someone is going to run out of gas. There's no way running 3 wide, top of the track, full throttle. Someone's going to be that person that's going to check up this field at some point by being out of gas. They're just going to risk it for the biscuit, and it's not going to pay off for somebody. Who is it going to be? I don't know. But with 6 1/4 laps to go, everyone's looking at that number little by little. There's a lap car on the bottom. He stays below the yellow line, and he's good.
That's Morton. There was no question as to whether he would be the one to get out of the way and avoid any drama. The middle line now has found a bit more speed. Talking of points of no return, we're getting towards that point at which we will be guaranteed that we are heading straight to overtime. Gallardo gets the shove from Maines and now takes the point of the field back over, slides up to the middle of the track momentarily as Gray sits behind him. Vroman once more sweeps up to that third line. Adam Blocker's behind Garrett Maines down low, which is not where I think you want to be as we head towards this checkered flag.
I would agree with that. It's the shortest way around the track, and we'll see if someone will move down. But right now, I have to think that spotter of Paul Hill is in Joseph Gallardo's ear second by second, saying, hey, here's where the lines are. Here's who's getting a run. Here's what you need to know. And is keeping his ears busy. That's the best thing a spotter could do for Joseph Gallardo.
Breathe for a second. We slid through one momentarily. We've seen a couple of cases, remember, where drivers have not been square when they've shoved each other off the corner, and that's led to a bit of drama. There's some traffic as well that hopefully will not be a drama. With 4 trips left around the racetrack next time by, Galata still leading, Wyatt Gray tucked in behind, and Sean Conklin trying to figure out when he can time his run to slip past the number 16 as they cross the line once again.
Conklin, last year, your overall NIS Open points winner wants to start off the NIS Open season this year with a Daytona 500 victory, up to second place. Hoping he can find a way to maybe, move down that lane and lead that bottom lane on around here. But now about 3.5 laps to go. We're down to about 7-ish miles of racing in Daytona, and anyone can still win this.
Such a fun start to the race. The early caution, yes, but a long green flag run. Let's stop and start through the middle. It's come alive once again at the end. 3 laps left to go and 3 wide outside the top 10. But 2 lines run almost 7 rows deep without trouble as they close on the traffic once again.
Car needs to move. Oh, they're going to go up 3 wide. This is going to not be great. And there's a bunch of people who wish that lap car would have went off the track or went high, but everyone seems to got by okay.
Trouble! And who was that gets spun down to the inside? Blocker, I think.
Line, no caution.
Was part of it. But will there be a resulting caution as Wimbley Boy try and recover back onto the racetrack? It's Sean Conklin up high. White Gray down low. 2 laps to go next time by, and Derek, we are still green.
We're still green. I can't believe it. This is going to get crazier. I think before it happens, it's Conklin up front. It's Galata. It's, oh my gosh, Tanner Love's up there. Wyatt Gray. There's still about 10 cars in this pack. Remember, Arjuna, once we get to the white flag, there are no cautions no matter what. We are racing to the white flag.
So I'm trying to figure out who was involved. Wilhite, Kohlmeyer, I think, were the 2 main drivers involved. Maybe Garrett Maines as well.
Garrett Maines as well, yep.
We are really down to 10 and not double file for the time being. We are going to get to the white flag. We are going to get a run to the checkered flag. Conklin, Galata, Forbes, Love, Roman the top 5. And now they're starting to move 2 by 2. Galata tries to get the move to the inside. And now the white flag will fly, Derek.
Side by side, 1 moment to go for a few drivers. This moment is about to be real. You're about to win the 2026 iRacing Daytona 500.
Where do you want to be right now? Where do you make your move?
Not the lead. I'm waiting until end of 3. End of 3 if I'm right here for Roman. I'm hoping that car goes with me, and I'm moving up top, make a 3rd lane here either into 3 or out of 4.
Well, it was traffic that set all of this up. A little bit of a moment, and now down to just 10 in contention. Conklin up high, Galata down low, and with shoves from behind. There's some more traffic up high that will stay out of the way, but the blast to the checkered flag, half spin as they work their way to the line, but the high line reigns supreme, and Sean Conklin wins the iRacing Daytona 500 in 2026.
Wow.
I think we've got plenty of replays to try and pick our way through. Let's start, Derek, with the moment through the traffic. Rocky Boyd, I think the one that gets sideways in that bright blue machine. That we'll see right there.
Yeah, that's the first instant. This was 3 to go. I thought for sure this was a caution. I'm surprised it's not. Watched again. Lap car on the bottom. And to be fair to that lap car, he's not the cause of the contact. There's contact up top, and everyone just gets below the line, and calamity, but no one on the racing surface.
And then let's grab a look at, well, the run through the entirety of the last lap, because side drafting here was really playing its part. The traffic up front really didn't end up playing a factor at all. Galata down low, Compton up high. That high line really working its momentum well as they worked out of turn 2.
Yeah, this is a wild moment. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be this lap car that's going to kill what I thought was going to happen here. But, I mean, the bottom lane's committed. There's nowhere you can go in the bottom lane. Watch the replay here. Just push, 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 push. But if I was Roman or someone else up top, I would have tried, but I think, unfortunately, that car up there stopped them from making the move here. And, yep.
Yeah, no way to go 3 wide, because it really would have been 4.
It's too late by here.
As they try to make something happen, maybe that little bit of contact robbed Gallardo from a chance of fighting for the lead. But what a finish to a spectacular race, as Sean Conklin came in with the number 1 and proved why he out-strategized them all on that run to the checkered flag to win by 54 thousandths of a second, Derek.
That's crazy. That's the way you want to win, by the way. No matter what happened in the lap, you can say you won by less than 1/10 of a second. That is a quintessential Daytona victory.
And parking it on that main straightaway, hopefully we'll roll the car a bit closer to victory lane and celebrate as well. What a way to open up the 2026 NASCAR iRacing Series here at the World Center of Racing. Sean Conklin, after starting down in 7th, jumps up to 1st, pushed by John Forbes Jr., who started all the way down in 19th, the penultimate time on the board in qualifying. Joseph Gallardo, the first car on the inside, finishes in 3rd, with Nicholas Vroman in the bright pink in 4th. Tanner Love 5th, Aaron Bruner 6th, with Adam Blocker down in 7th, just in front of Johnny Dressler, Wyatt Gray, and Jarrett Talmage. The biggest mover, 26 positions gained. Aaron Bruner, one of those drivers electing not to qualify and start at the back. Jack Mace, well, what a fight back from him, albeit down in 11th at the checkered flag. Junso Lim in front of Dylan Basin, with Justin Campbell, Jesse Atchison, and Cody Porter a little bit separated out from the drag race to the checkered flag. Garrett Maines, Charles Wimbley, Rocky Boyd, and Matthew O'Brien, handful of those cars mixed up in that incident on that run. 3 laps to go. Steele Langford, 1 lap down alongside of Yuma Yao, Brandon Schmidt, Joe Carson, Jaden Hoppen, Matthew Morton. Several of those cars led significant numbers of laps. Chris Wilhite, Shane Kohlmeyer, and then Issam Arabi, all 2 laps down. 3 laps down for Colby DeCarlo, while Nathaniel Landwehr, Mitch Stranowski, Seth DeMerchant, Cole Hooper, Evan Say, Nathan Harper, and Maggie McGuire. Used car lot, I think, best describes what was to be seen there. Not sure if we're going to get a chance to catch up to all of our podium sitters, but it is with great delight that I can say our race winner standing by in victory lane, Sean Conklin with Derek Watson.
Sean, you did it. You've won a 500. I've watched you attempt a few of these this year, and you have won the iRacing Daytona 500. What's on your mind right now?
Oh man, I'm just so thankful that me and Daytona have a stable relationship again. Because my goodness, it has been brutal these last few races, league races, official races. Anything I've done at Daytona has just been brutal. I can't get an ounce of luck here, but we pulled some out tonight, missing all those wrecks, staying in the front pack the whole time. And it was a hell of a lot of fun.
So I have to ask, it's the question I had up in the booth up to the finish, and I just want to know how far wrong I was. How much gas was left in that car?
About half a lap.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we oversaved a little bit, but I was just being super cautious so that I would not have to save it all at the end. But yeah, we were just riding around in the back, just trying to save as much fuel as possible. And finally got to experience what the guys in real life do.
So the last thing I think I want to ask here, white flag lap, you're coming down the back straight. What was in your mind? You had a lane to the bottom, you had the guys pushing behind. What was in your mind? Were you scared of people pulling out a lane? Were you nervous about the lap cars? What was going through your mind as that white flag lap was in progress?
To be honest, nothing. Just at that point, it was just in fate's hands, and it was just full throttle till you see the checkered flag. It's just you're in the position that you're in. Nothing that you can do can change it. You're in your lane that you're in, and you just hammer down to the line, and it worked. You know, we're able to keep our right rear from being grabbed, and the momentum off the corners from the top really worked out. That's why I've been trying to stay up there. I stayed up there for most of the race when we were double file, and just trying to learn some things that paid off here at the end for sure.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure watching you race. Anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
I just want to thank you. I have some family watching, some cousins, so shout out to them. I think they watched the whole thing, and I didn't even send the link to them, and they were watching it. So shout out to them. Shout out to Mom, Dad, and everybody that was in Discord with me. Ryko Performance, Best One Tire, Randy Bell Construction, Gossip Bus Lines, and just everybody over there at Ryko. And you guys for broadcasting this. It was a great broadcast. It's cool to be broadcasted on the main iRacing page, and yeah, glad we can get it done.
All right, well, listen, again, a pleasure watching the race. Thank you to the Conklin family for watching, and we'll talk to you later. And now, Arjuna, I believe you caught up with second place.
John Forbes Jr. gave the push to Sean Conklin on the run to the checkered flag. John, a up and down race for you. You qualified down in 19th. I know you had a lengthy pit stop just before that final run to the checkered flag. Talk us through how you're feeling after that grueling race.
Yeah, I am very, very happy to get out of here P2. Obviously want to go for the win, but I mean, once you get down to the last lap, you're kind of just stuck in your lanes, and I was happy working with Sean there. There's a chance maybe I could have gone to the middle once the guys to my inside got all messed up, but yeah, an overall race, just up and down, the roller coaster, going up through the field and then get a little bit of damage, come fix it. Did that a few times through the race, and then we had that lengthy run towards the end where we were all saving fuel. Saved enough fuel there, and then just kind of hit go time with about somewhere between 5 and 10 laps to go. Me and my teammate Jared Talmadge, we were like, all right, it's time to go. Whatever happens, happens. If we're in it, we gave each other good luck, and then basically just drove through the field. We got to the middle line. It got a big burst of momentum, and suddenly we found ourselves in the top 5 with only a couple laps to go. So from there, we're just picking and choosing the lanes, and got to the outside, and brought it home to P2. So I'm super happy with that.
How did you enjoy that last phase of the race where we were doing lap times that was it 7-8 seconds a lap slower than what you guys are really capable of doing?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. We all knew we were short on fuel, so we're like, all right, we're just gonna replicate some real NASCAR and save some fuel. So pretty much everybody just agreed to that. It was kind of the only play. You weren't just gonna drive off from the field and have to come down pit road. So I mean, I wouldn't even say it was a gentleman's agreement. We all just had to slow down and save some pace, and we all got there.
Well, congrats on a great run. Go and get some rest, and hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of 2026.
Thank you. Need to give a big shout out to Nexus 2 for the awesome setup tonight.
John Forbes Jr. second on the road. Let's catch up as well, last but not least, with Joseph Gallardo, finished on that inside line. He's standing by with Derek Watson.
Joseph, P3 in the Daytona 500 tonight. How does that feel, up 23 spots?
Hey, it's pretty phenomenal if you ask me. That was intense the last 10 laps, huh?
I'm sure it was for you. If it was intense up here for Arjun and I in the booth, it had to have been intense inside the vehicle, I'm assuming.
Very much so.
So walk us through the white flag lap. White flag comes out. There's the contact and the wreck, I think, with 3 to go. About 10 of you left. What was running through your mind on that last lap?
Trying to figure out how I was going to ditch Conklin and get the forward momentum on the inside line, and I timed it a little too early, and it just became a side jab fest in the end. I messed up. I didn't have full throttle when I made my move, because I was also trying to make sure I had enough gas to make it to the line, so it was kind of a wishy-washy situation.
Well, one more open Daytona 500 session this weekend, Sunday morning. Are you trying one more time to win the Great American Race?
I don't know. Maybe. I ran Wednesday. I ran tonight. It's a lot of laps.
It is indeed. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure watching you run tonight. Anyone you want to say hello to or give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody on my team, Bigfoot Chassis Collective. They put a lot of work in week and week out to make us go fast, and you guys for the broadcast. It was phenomenal. Thank you, guys.
Thank you as well. That's Joseph Gallardo, finished P3, and Arjuna, I believe that wraps up our interviews for the evening.
It does. We've got lots more action to come here in the iRacing NASCAR iRacing Series. It's been a long day. We can get our words out in the correct order. Next up, it's a trip to the, newly renamed Echo Park Speedway, at least newly renamed in my mind, before a trip to our first road course of the season, and then running all the way through to the Homestead Miami Speedway. But let's not forget, the next time we have an iRacing special event, unfortunately, it will not be one of the many NASCAR iRacing Series races that lie in front of us. However, instead, it's a chance for us to travel down under to, well, one of the most difficult racetracks on the planet. And we were talking about it slightly earlier on. It's a week away from us, rather. The iRacing Bathurst 12-hour presented by Ready, Set, Sim. Up and down the mountain, weather could be a factor. Now, Derek, this is always one of the most interesting GT3 races of the year.
Yeah, there's no room for error in this race. If you make a single mistake, your race will be done. But it's exciting. We'll start in the morning when it's nighttime out. You will race up into the sunrise, and someone will say they have won the most difficult special event of the year, in my opinion.
Some might say the Nürburgring 24, but only if we start to ratchet up the car counts, but that's neither here nor there. Time for us to say goodbye after what has been a long night, but there's so much more action to come on the iRacing Esports Network, so make sure you stick around and subscribe for what is to come. World Championship action kicking off, and eNASCAR starting back up in earnest. But the 2026 iRacing Daytona 500 is in the books, and now officially, the NASCAR iRacing Series is back in our lives. Derek Watson alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Thanks so much for joining us here on RaceSpotTV. We'll see you next time when we continue coverage of the iRacing special events and the NASCAR iRacing Series. It's Sean Conklin that wins the Great American Race.